Activate.
Good lord. All right. Hello and welcome back to Roll for Story. We're resuming our Crystal Cave arc, the Diamond Soul. And you guys managed to get to the 5th region last we left off. This maze is a invisible maze, and you spoke with the speaker, who is a sort of hybrid prismal humanoid creature. And he said a very great deal about how the 5th region is the staging ground for some sort of prophecy. The time of tremors is upon us. All of those who've enslaved will be swallowed by the earth. It's time for the shattering of shackles. All of these crazy, ominous, strange things, but at the same time, sounds good. Sounds, end of slavery sounds good. So you signed up and have hired the goblins as help as well. The goblins last session have officially become effective members of the Frozen Flame by, together with Kesh'an, attuning to the Frozen Flame itself. And in doing so, you felt sort of a connective key between you all. And you've harnessed and honed a few more skills, did some training with some weapons, and you've kitted up, and you're effectively ready to launch into action. The plan is simple. Get in, get some crystals, and hit a massive crystal with a hammer. Mora-din, the god of dwarves and blacksmithing, has guided you in how to do this, and has told you that chamber, the inner chamber in the cracked nest, will be the most heavily guarded. But you could divert some of the patrols surrounding this city away, and the Frozen Flame goblins have volunteered to actually do this. Hopefully they don't sacrifice too many of their lives. Their plan is only to draw them away. They're not going to go in with a confrontation if they can avoid one. Meanwhile, you guys have planned to sneak in through the Sathak worm tunnels. This was once a Dao city, and even before that, it was a nest to the Chrismals. But since the Dao have taken over it, it seems some incredibly large worm-like creatures have tunneled through here, causing the Dao to evacuate. However, it is not completely abandoned. The only things that roam the ruined walkways and tunnels now are these things called Carnifex constructs, and they were built for one thing and one thing only: to wipe out the Chrismals. They are constructs of destruction. Show them no mercy. All right. So with that, you guys, is there anything else you want to do before you finish preparing? Any spells?
Yeah, I'd like to go and retrieve the book from underneath Raheem's pillow.
Oh, right, the dream journal. Yes, but I almost forgot. So, Raheem, if you open up the book, it looks like he was he was dreaming of all kinds of designs for his new violin. Last you left him, he was trying to visualize a crystal violin, and if that was even possible. But it seems like he wants to make it work, and there's all kinds of other ideas and jotted down. This one which is like a bone violin, and he seems to be dreaming of perhaps turning his own old skull into an instrument.
Might be creepy, but alright.
Yeah, it is a little odd. But the imagery, in his head at least, sounds good, sounds cool. But
Okay. Like that's good to know. to know. The
And,
bone violin could actually be quite cool.
he's making notes in the side columns. Might try this myself. Okay.
Well, I did tell him I'd help him make it, so
Mhm.
Mind you.
could be my first foray before I start the villain's robes. Maybe.
All right. And I can try, James. I've got to make a token real quick.
It's basically a baby bullet.
Oh my god, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. The let pup.
Yeah.
That's cute. Sure.
I thought it would be more appropriate for this underground tunneling sort of thing if I have something that can sense things coming, rather than... Actually, what vision does Taklo have? I'm sure he has, rather than the 10-foot blind sight, having like even just 30-foot tremor sense would probably be more useful.
Sure if there is. I'm not sure if there is familiars that can get tremor sense, but
I mean, this one gets blind
maybe.
sight.
Yeah, blind sight, that's true.
And I'd say in most cases, blind sight's normally more powerful. It's just this is a specific situation. That's why I thought I would ask. Also, another thing whilst I'm asking, Mora-din obviously blessed like the geode flail. Is that just purely so it can activate this thing, or has anything else changed about it? Just so I'm aware.
You haven't actually tried using it, or you could practice with it if you wanted and see what it actually does.
Yeah, while people are making their final preparations, I'll make a few swings.
It feels a lot heavier, that's for sure. And as you're swinging it, there's just a slight ringing to it perhaps when it impacts something. You can just hear the crystals sort of thrumming and like a chiming sound.
Yeah, almost like a resonant energy stored, almost.
Yeah.
Karius just sort of looks at it and it's just like, okay, in that case, there is something I want to test. Infuses it with booming blade and swings it at something. More thunderous action.
Yeah, it definitely feels like as you release the thunder, it lets off this booming, ringing noise. For a moment, you feel like you have tinnitus, just this constant like "ee" in your ear. But it's still not releasing the energy yet.
Okay.
It feels like it's there, but it's perhaps storing it up.
Yeah.
If it was releasing it with every attack, it wouldn't be as impactful.
Yeah,
for when...
basically, it's almost like it's sending it constantly through like an echo chamber in order to build up the power.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
But when you realize after practicing with this, the two Chrismals in the group are just staring at you. Like little gem-like eyes are kind of glistening.
Hello.
They speak telepathically with their own little chiming and ringing, and they say that is very loud.
In a good way.
It's like it's shaking every diamond or every crystal in our body.
I'll make sure not to hit you with it then, because that would sounds like it would be bad.
It does. Please, just.
But in that case, does that mean it might potentially shake apart these Carnifex constructs?
Possibly. The Carnifex constructs are made of stone, but they seem to house some sort of energy source within. You can see it escaping through the cracks and crumbling bits on them.
That construct we dealt with at the very beginning, you like took parts of it to repair something. Was that one of them?
That was not one of them, but an earth elemental
Oh, okay.
that that other creature was commanding and summoned.
That's fair enough. I just thought I'd check because. Right. In which case,
Mechanifix constructs resemble much more like soldiers or warriors.
interesting. Right. Well, everyone ready? I suppose.
Sure. I've
Yep.
I've given them all a good berry. You know, so they can get each other
Mhm.
up and
Yeah, that's right. We've got one good berry each.
as a means of protecting, and then they just pull whoever got downed to the back.
All right. This is the Frozen Flame Monastery moving out.
Right.
You'll know when we're engaging the enemy, I'm sure, because
Yep.
they'll all come rushing out of the
And
cracked nest.
and then we'll keep up our namesake and bring Kiasta to whatever's left.
All right, you guys. Raheem, Lost to Earth, look after the place while we're gone. All right. Be safe out there, Anthony. Come back. Okay?
Well, like, don't you go running off on your own. Again. Please, do
Yeah.
not go running off on your own.
Just
Yeah.
sit in the corner, play some cards.
Do not chase after the shiny things, please. We haven't got time to try and find you again.
Yeah, in this case, third time may be unlucky because I don't know if we'll succeed a third time.
All right. First of all, I didn't run off. I got kidnapped. And secondly, I'm not planning on running anywhere. This place is deadly on every turn.
Yep.
Didn't he see earlier that he was a master of running away?
Exactly.
When I can breathe, yes.
That's a good point. You
Alright.
can't breathe out there, so this is like almost like a defense mechanism to stop him running away. That's pretty good.
So, I mean, technically,
It's
if
like
you
a
wanted to, you could just keep him here, and you'd always get to see him without him running away.
it's like a vacuum cage.
Yeah, prison.
Great. Out of one prison and into the other.
Yeah, but you've got more freedom here. You can wander about a bit. You're not like locked in a tiny box. It's a big box.
You're not getting tortured.
Yeah.
Well, except for the part where you chopped off my legs.
Yeah, but that had to happen.
I could do it again if you want.
What?
To be fair,
Oh,
you
Huh?
had your head cut off and you're fine. So I mean, like the worst has happened, right?
I'd rather not experience that again, but
If you wanted, I could have cut them off and then let you regrow them on your own.
Okay, our point is stay put.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be
Stop.
back.
Yeah, stop
Maybe.
complaining.
I'm not going anywhere.
Bye.
All right, so
Pinky promise.
Pinky promise.
pinky promises, both of you.
Also, as
At the
another
same
idea
time.
for something you could do for part of your violin, there's lots of sand here. You could maybe practice some glass blowing.
Yeah, wait. What can he do? Can he not buff us before we go or anything? I don't know what he's got.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
You-
Is he a caster or is he just pure rogue?
I can make you laugh.
He's an idiot.
I can heal you up, or I can charm you, but need an instrument to do all of those things.
I could do with a little joke to lighten the mood before we fight.
Oh, really? Let me think.
Sean, do not encourage him, please.
Can I borrow that real quick? The violin. I need it for a quick
What?
spell.
What did the tavern keeper say to the musician? You're bad.
Shut up.
All right, on that note, let's go.
Terrible jokes.
Onward and upward.
You can roll a wisdom saving throw, I guess. Kesh'an.
It's not an inspiration you're getting. You're gonna be
Right.
attached.
Says,
Surprise, fool! You got tashed.
9. Also, why am I private rolling? That's weird. Change that back.
he says, all right, I got the one just for you, Kesh'an. When at the beach, what do martial artists indulge in?
I don't know.
Sand to sand fighting.
Let's go. Let's leave.
Well, according to this, you fall down laughing for like a solid minute. Kesh'an is just belly laughing on the floor, tears streaming down his
Karius
face.
just flicks him round the ear.
Aw,
That was the funniest thing I've ever heard.
he does snap out of it. But yeah, he goes,
Thank
there
you.
you go.
I needed that.
You know, I think I know why they cut off his head.
Ah!
Oh, okay, get out of here. So, and you have summoned Taklo as some sort
Yeah.
of rocky creature.
Yeah.
With
So
a bullet.
everyone just sees this little like thing pouring after Karius rather than his usual animal companion.
It's got a little tongue hanging out of
Yep.
this kind of stony mouth.
Yeah.
It looks like a cross between like a little lizard and an armadillo sort of thing. It's got like clawed. It's got like a little bit of plating armor, but a softer underbelly. Yeah. All right. So there's Taklo, the bullet pup, and we'll get you on the way. So you are as one big group for the time being, including with the speaker and his little charismal companions, and you're just working your way back out the same way you came, climbing up this rope to get into the 5th region and this invisible maze. And we'll actually take you back there, in fact, just because. Okay. Oh boy, those scary faces. Why did you have to highlight them? There we go. Egbert's in tow as well. Let me get rid of these tokens. There we go. Get rid of that. Alright, so this is your group. So you come out into this invisible maze once again, and let's see. Where would we put you? Yeah, let's just put you in this corner. Alright. As you come out into this ginormous cavern, the weird amber glow from these crystals is still sort of just beating down. The tremors have continued throughout the night, and even now you can hear them sort of intermittently shuddering the earth, causing everyone to sort of steady themselves against the invisible walls. And as you're working your way, the charismals are actually leading the way, and they seem to be tapping their little tails against the glass, letting off this small ringing sound. And then they seem to look around, detecting where that goes. But the speaker says, "The charismals are finding their way back home. I imagine for them it has been many lifetimes since they've returned. And as they continue to scuttle along, they come to a point in the maze where they overlook the very edge and they begin scuttling down. And for those, all of you, goblins included, they begin to kind of lower ropes and climbing gear and they begin to rappel down. In fact, I'll actually take you back to the same map because that's where all the artwork is. And as you descend down to this massive chasm, one wall is kind of very straight and cleanly carved. The other one is all jagged, like rocks, just like flint and spikes just jutting out of the wall. And as you come all the way down, you start to see there is a platform illuminated right at the very bottom. And the platform is of kind of elaborate stonework. It definitely looks like someone shaped the stone rather than kind of built it. And all around you start to see floating like obelisks and pillars, each of them sort of etched with runes that just sort of dimly glow in the light here. And it becomes a little bit maze-like as you start to see bridges, tunnels. There's all kinds of architecture that leads off in different directions. And as the Chrismals go, they seem to be conjuring a little bit of fire at the end of their claws, and then they seem to touch these nearby braziers that light them up. Chrismals, you hear the speaker say, Chrismals have powers over certain elements, depending on what type of crystal they're made of. Ruby for fire, sapphire, cold, yellow for electricity, it seems. They are curious creatures, shaped by the pressures of the earth plane itself. And they continue to scuttle around, looking for the way. And they seem to get a little bit lost, almost as if one wants to go one way and the other wants to go the other. And the speaker says, well, it appears we have a fork in the road. One wants to go up this balcony here, along the bridge. The other seems to think the way is across this cracked causeway. The goblins kind of look at one another and shrug. They do not recognize this place. The Tao built their structures here when before it was much more of a natural cavern full of naturally occurring crystal. The goblins are like, is there any signposts or anything? What about these runes? Do they mean anything? I'm afraid I couldn't say.
What language are they in?
They are in runic language, meaning they are arcane in nature.
Eirina,
They
can
don't
you
seem
read
to be
them?
of any- Eirina can read them, and if you get a little closer and glance at them, whilst carefully balancing a duck on your head, there is indeed
Actually, a chicken.
a chicken.
The chick.
So yes, these runes do have sort of transmutation-looking runes on them. Probably what's making them perhaps float in some fashion. And they all seem to be kind of clustered, hovering around in a group. But none of them seem to touch each other. They seem to, as they get close, perhaps sort of repel each other, almost like a magnet. And perhaps the transmutation runes are also imparting that, rather than just some sort of floaty magic. Maybe it is more of like a magnetism transmutation as you're looking at it.
Okay. So if the theory is that it's magnetic, if I pull out the compass, does it point towards?
The compass is indeed spinning a little bit, and you start to realize, yep, there is a magnetic field here.
Okay. Potentially runes have IKEA instructions, perhaps? Can I turn this off?
Did you say IKEA instruction?
Yes. Easy to follow, easy to activate.
Okay, I'll let you give me an investigation check.
Is there a big...
Investigation. 14. That's terrible for me.
That is like an natural 2.
You got a 2 on the dice and still got a
I
14.
rolled a 2.
Got plus 12.
I've
14.
never rolled that low on investigation.
You're getting a similar kind of readout to both directions that the Chrismal seem to want to fork away in. With the 14, you can guess that maybe one way will become a little bit more illuminated or revealed the further you go down. But in this moment, when it's kind of spinning in between, you don't have a good bearing on which way the stronger magnetic pull is.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull out I'm gonna delve into my pockets and I'm gonna pull out 2 beads at random from my little stash. And after the death dream, obviously I fell down towards this big thing. So my brain assumes that that's what I'm looking for, is this big, because he called it a nest, I think he did, or a hive or something. And it's like this big, he was like, you can't miss it, you'll know it when you see it. So Eirina is assuming that's what they're looking for.
What he described was a gigantic crystal, whereas what you dreamt of was a kind of spherical dome with crystal rods shoved into it at different points. And the rods were kind of like all the way up into the actual chamber itself. Yeah, but that's what I'll say. That's just a repeat of what you've.
But like going from like the dream I had and the description I've got, my brain's kind of like, either way we want to go downwards, right? Because the next layer is down. Theoretically.
The speaker just looks at you with this emotionless blank face, except for the single sort of glowing eye just behind the glassy sheen. Just stares at you and says, "You are the chosen ones. I will trust your intuition."
Right, okay. I'm gonna, either direction, I'm gonna place one of these beads down and I'm gonna let them loose and see which one rolls down fastest, I guess.
Like which one is pulled. I mean, there is gravity in varying degrees here. So, okay. Sure. You see the marble that's on the balcony level. I'm trying to picture how you're doing this. I'm guessing you drop one near one entrance and one near the other one.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing.
Yeah, so the one near the balcony falls slightly slower. The one near the causeway thuds to the ground and doesn't even bounce.
Okay. And we're assuming that the crystal is giving off the gravity? Or is the center of gravity?
The speaker again stares at you.
I'm talking to the group! I'm asking for the group's judgment here. Could you pay attention?
I guess we follow the ways. Center of gravity, yeah.
I mean, it makes
Okay.
the most sense.
And if we're worried about the whole maze thing, one of us could turn into a bat and echolocate the way through.
I mean, well, we've got one of these. Chrismal's going to lead the way, but it's just which way's the right way.
Anywhere
Well, that's
that's
what I
not
mean.
near a
So
maze,
do
that'll
we
be
think
ideal.
this is this crystal pulling gravity or pushing gravity?
Uh, do we feel any difference in the pool?
Perhaps as you go deeper in, if you walk a few paces, a little bit more, you do start to actually feel any belongings on you kind of weighing down on your shoulders just a tad more, yeah.
So it seems like it's normal but heavier.
So
That's right, yeah.
if sorry, I'm just trying to think out loud. When Kesh'an read through his one of the things like the door it puts you through, it came across as something like it's real strain on the body and it makes it hard to move. Like obviously we've been through like the can't breathing thing
Yeah.
and everything like that. I'm just wondering if the because obviously the gravity is then going to slow you down, and if this is you trying to learn speed, it makes sense for it to be difficult to move if we're closer to it.
That makes sense. I have nothing to reference to that. But I will. Yep.
It makes
Yes.
sense, right? You're learning how to be faster, and like if you can be fast in heavy gravity, what are you going to be like in normal gravity once you've learned how to adapt to
God,
the heavy
it's-
gravity?
it's
You're going to be like
literally-
super speed.
Literally
Yeah, it
Dragon
makes
Ball
sense.
Z training.
Oh God, we'll have to put weights on his feet.
That's very Rock Lee. All right,
Yeah.
let's do this. We're going down the heavy path.
Yep.
All right. The goblins are like, oh. Okay. We'll follow you for now, right?
I guess.
Okay.
Unless you're going the other way to get to the other entrance, because if this leads to the tunnels, then your way should lead to the other place, right?
Perhaps, yeah. We want to get to the front entrance. You
Yeah.
guys want to make it down into the tunnel. So I guess we'll try and split up here.
I guess. If you take which one of them pointing that direction of the Christmas?
Looks like Steel is going that way.
Excellent. That's just the one I wanted to go that way. You're right. You take Steel, we'll take Zybets, and I guess you're coming with us, Speaker, or are you going off to do your thing now?
I will accompany you.
Okay.
And yeah, you see all the goblins scale up onto this walkway, and they begin kind of looking around, peering nervously, drawing weapons out cautiously as they head down this narrow tunnel. And you guys begin to follow this causeway, and as you do, you see it seems to be kind of broken up into pieces. Some of it's missing, other bits are just kind of floating. And more strange architecture reveals itself as you get closer, and the gravity sort of ebbs and flows. In some areas it's incredibly heavy, and you can see that's actually where parts of the causeway have just pulled down and collapsed. Other sections are there's less gravity, and you feel like you're able to just sort of lightly step your way through. Now you have a flying glaive,
Yep.
and you're able to effectively walk on walls. So none of this really proves much of a challenge in terms of traversing it. But it does feel almost maze-like, as this is effectively what you're going through, one up piece to the other, going through tunnels, sections where there are no walkways, but it feels like you're perhaps in the back maintenance area where the walls and structures haven't been surfaced for people to walk on, but you would imagine dhows easily be able to float through here or simply pass through the walls. And so Some sections are a little bit difficult, but being that you have a flying glaive, I'm not going to bother making any of you roll these arduous checks to sort of hover over. You just get over one by one.
Do flying glaive.
Yeah, just hovering back and forth, ferrying people from these places, from one ledge to another, down into another chasm, through a tight little, what feels like a maintenance tunnel as you're having to actually crawl through a cramped, tiny space. All the while, this little Chrismal tap tap tap, scuttle scuttle, tap tap tap, and then keeps moving ahead, and eventually, as you come out of this cramped maintenance tunnel, you look around and you can see a lot of this unworked stone. It's not been flattened, it's not been worked into bricks. It looks more rough hewn and almost kind of cylindrical. All this time you've been seeing very square shapes, rigid structures, but for the first time as you enter into this tunnel, this one looks spherical. And as you're pulling your way in, you feel gravity go topsy-turvy again. It feels like you're actually entering not from the side of the tunnel, but from the very top. It feels like you're dropping down into it.
What do we think? Are we on the right path?
Possibly. Seems
I
like
think
it.
we're in this far. We're not really going anywhere, are we?
True.
No.
True.
I think pushing a little bit deeper.
All right. What do you think,
see what we come
Rocklow?
across.
Which is why I'm calling Tacklow in this new form.
Taklo is standing very still for a moment and is picking up tremors, a lot of them.
Okay, that's
But they're distant, very distant.
okay. Distant tremors, but lots of them probably means we're on the right path.
The images we're seeing on screen right now, that's kind of like the layout that we're basically walking through right now.
That's where you were walking through, yeah. All of that was about maybe an hour's worth of traversing. And you finally come
Imagine
into...
Kesh'an had a field day. Parkour!
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Definitely.
doing all these parkour things, and Karius is just like, and I'm just gonna just glide across. Smooth.
And then you've got Karius and Elias just flying through.
Hey, Kesh'an. Race ya.
Oh no.
Oh. Oh, don't tempt me.
Go. 1, 2, 3, go.
You want to race? You can roll. You could roll contested checks. So you want to try and race
Do
through
it.
the
Do
parkour.
the thing. Do the thing. I
Yeah.
dare you.
Contested checks.
Yeah, go ahead. You can roll either athletics or acrobatics.
Do it.
Hell yeah.
Good. Who's with me, by the way?
Probably Eirina, otherwise she's getting left behind.
Oh, Kesh'an.
Oh.
Great start.
Both are all really bad. What the heck?
You're cheating. You're on a rocking horse.
I'm on a
That doesn't
steed.
sound like a sentence that should make sense.
It is a noble steed.
That's cheating. You're on a rocking horse.
And Karius is just,
Parkour.
and Karius is just like, do 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 do.
Yeah, but as all these like things are coming through, he's dodging them.
Imagine a lot.
Irina's just holding on.
Probably do a few flips off them and land back on them and on it and
Kesh'an, you step onto what looks like a floating platform, and it just immediately gives out, and you just begin to fall.
It's a fake platform, like in platformer games.
Yeah.
It does that thing where it starts to rumble and it just drops.
And you do fall quite a distance from where you were. Probably get to the tunnel last, but only because you have to climb all the way back up using your claws. All the way. It's like such a long drop. But you probably slow fall right to the bottom.
I did, yeah.
And like underneath, you can see almost looks like the Giant's Causeway, but almost like stalactites hanging from the ceiling. The underneath of all of this platform is actually quite beautiful to watch, as you see the glittering runes of transmutation begin to sort of hover them back up and into place. And finally, you get to the very top. You're exhausted a little bit, wondering where the rest of your party are. But yeah, you can tell the little cramped tunnel that they crawled into, and as you all fall into the rounded tunnel, you actually see natural-looking stalactites, and you're away from the more rigid, square-like structures. And this is the kind of cave that you found yourself in now.
Quickly before we move on to the cave thing, as we like,
Mhm.
obviously the square structures and obviously this what you described, obviously like Kesh'an had seen and stuff like that. Just for my own curiosity, are they similar to the Stoneforge Mystic style things?
They actually aren't. The Stoneforge used like pulled weapons out of the stone,
Mm.
and there's made the stone look more almost like flowing rock and art, almost like it was once liquid at one point and then it kind of froze into a solid. The sort of way you see lava flows as they begin to harden, that's how they kind of shaped it.
Okay, cool.
And then they had the patterns of like the diamond shapes.
Yeah.
There aren't any diamonds in this particular, like, none of the runes are diamond shaped. None
So
of the
they don't
structures
look
are.
familiar at all. They look like they're separate things. Okay, cool. That's all
They
I
all
wanted
kind of
to.
look like, yeah, they're all just kind of flat edges, square like. You could roll an Arcana check real quick. You might actually determine exactly what they are.
Okay. Bleh. 19.
Yep. You can tell all of the stonework is actually continuous castings of walls of stone and then left there for like 10 minutes and then they become permanent. So the Dao have actually conjured these walls continuously over many, many days as they recharge their spells. And each time they've just built upon the structure.
That's
Yeah.
possible?
Mm-hmm. Wall of stone,
Okay.
given enough time, you can literally make yourself a castle.
Noted.
Oh, wait, let me check. Is it wall of stone? If you maintain concentration, the wall becomes permanent, yeah, and can't be dispelled. Yep. So you just have to concentrate 10 minutes for a wall of stone. And then if you do that every day, this continuously, you will make a castle eventually.
That's pretty
Noted.
cool.
Noted.
Noted.
Yeah. And you can make little crenulations and
Random.
parapets. The wall of stone isn't just flat stone. You can tell there's like some shaping to it, but for the most part, they've kept it simple.
Okay.
All right.
That's interesting.
But you finally emerge from all of that architecture and into this much more natural looking cavern. And you can see the natural stalactites sticking down like daggers from the ceiling. And as you look around and perhaps traverse a little bit deeper, you can tell this tunnel spans into a network, and you can see it splitting off in about 1, 2, 3 different directions, some diagonal, some horizontal. And you're kind of standing right about there where that little character is there. And you're probably wondering which way to go now. The gravity doesn't feel as heavy. Well, actually, it does feel heavier down here, but it feels heavy in every direction. And the compass is the needle. It's like flat as you're holding it. It's not moving.
Yeah.
So if I'm holding it like this, it's flat. Like,
That's right. Yeah, the needle just is still.
okay. What if I tip it up?
It spins down and points directly down.
Geronimo!
the Chrismal is also trying to figure out which way to go as well. But it's up to you at the moment. Where do you want to? Which direction would you like to go in? You've got
Gravity is going down, guys. What do we want to do?
Do you want me to move the earth?
Like, is there a drop, or does this like have solid ground beneath us?
there is solid ground beneath you. The tunnel you're on at the moment kind of goes horizontally, and there's another tunnel that goes diagonally, and another one that goes a different diagonal. But you've come down one of those, so you kind of got options of forwards, backwards, or back up, but at an angle. And as you kind of hesitating and thinking about what to do, another enormous tremor beats from the earth. You can see the needle shuddering and shaking.
Yeah.
Does your smoke thing know anything about whether we can just go dig straight down?
Probably not. Karius, does Taklo know where that tremor came from?
That's a good question. What do you think? Can you work out where that centralized came from? And as I'm asking this, I'm also focusing on the geode to see if its resonant frequency is pointing in any direction.
That's clever. Okay, use a perception check for Taklo.
Yeah.
And I'll give him advantage.
Okay.
Because he might be able to use that crystal as well.
19 on the
good.
dice. I don't know what bonuses he would get. We go by his usual bonuses. That would be a +3, so 22.
Very good. Okay. Taklo is again frozen as the tremor goes on, almost like wide-eyed, and then blinks when it's kind of all over. Almost like when a goat hears a really, really loud noise and just falls over, stiff. It's kind of like Taklo's doing. It's almost like frozen with fear, almost. But after you ask them which way is which, Taklo senses that the tremors are coming from one direction down the tunnel forwards. That's where the tremors are coming from, but also directly beneath the earth. I'll tell you now, with a 22, there is more than one set of tremors. Taklo can sense there's this constant low tremor that's only detectable by him, and then there's the big booming, almost like earthquakes. Those are the ones you're hearing. But there is
And
also the constant grinding.
the lowest, the sort of like low shuffle sort of tremor. The constant one. Which direction is that? Is that the one that's straight forward, or is that the one that's beneath the earth?
Yeah. So the constant grinding one is up ahead through the tunnel. The one that's booming and deep feels like it's beneath the earth, like it's shaking the whole plane of earth itself. And that he can feel like the center of that way, way far down, like incredibly distant.
I mean,
if they, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall them saying like something was trapped within something. It could potentially be whatever it is trying to break out. Or am I making that up? Is that something my brain just went?
The entire Earth plane is supposed to be shackled and trying to break free. That was one of the things they said, right?
Something
all
like
the slaves are. But I'm sure there was something mentioned about something being trapped within. That's gonna bother me now. Because I'm wondering if that actually happened, or if I'm making that up.
Speaker, we've managed to pick up 2 tremors. The one that we can obviously all hear, and that's pretty big, and that's coming from deep below us. And then a more constant one. I'm wondering if the constant one is maybe the resonant frequency of the crystal we're after, or if the big crystal, or if it's that big crystal thrumming out every now and then. I don't know which direction seems more likely.
My gut says to
Crystals.
go towards whatever thing is banging, because if this thing is trapped, and the whole point is to let it loose, so it's trying to escape, right?
It sounds. Tackler confirms that sound, that massive banging, the earthquake, is miles and miles beneath the earth. Like it feels
Which
like
might even be on
miles
another
off.
layer at that point.
And the constant tremor is sort of close by, and that's what you learn. The speaker says the crystals use the crystals through communication. It is a delicate language of chimes and ringing, not like these shudders and angry earthen noises. But do bear in mind, the crystals were long since wiped out. Their nest was the structure you saw previously. What we're using here are the back entrance. We need to find a way back into the nest, but from a different angle. Now, that constant grinding, though it does not sound like the crystals, it sounds like it's nearby. Or if we want to try and go back up but at an angle, there is that diagonal passage, but I'm...
If the loud thumping is that far deep, it's not going to be what we're looking for at the moment. It's too far away. Unless distances don't matter here. So I sort of look to Tackler and be like, that sort of constant thumping one you can hear, the constant grinding. Does that sort of sound like the same sort of constant sound that's from the geode flow? Is it like a similar sort
of... they sort of tap it slightly. The geode is vibrating from it. Like it's like a sensor that is picking up the vibrations, and that's why, as Tackler kind of like used it to gain advantage, they could sense that it was close by and that it was constant and grinding. It doesn't sound like the same thing. It's just the crystals themselves don't give off vibrations. Yeah. They just vibrate from other things vibrating them, right? Does that make sense?
But
it's an enhanced...
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether, as for example, these tremors are going off, if that's causing those crystals to make the constant grinding, you know, like it's them calming down before they have a chance to, it gets knocked again, sort of thing.
Right.
But I say that constant grinding is the most likely direction in my opinion, so I think we should go that way, but I'm up for any suggestions from anyone else at this point. The earth is not my specialty.
Yeah. Not really mine. I just have this loot that can do cool lithomancy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want me to go in a direction, I can go in a direction.
Kesh'an, what do you think? This is your rodeo at the end of the day down here. You might be muted, Cam.
Sorry, I'm eating. He says, I don't mind. I'm feeling the pull forward, but...
Then let's follow
that. This place is still a maze.
Yeah, let's follow that pull forward.
Yes. even when not in the maze, the Earth plane itself is still a maze.
It's rather amazing.
Ah, you beat me to it, you bastard. Sorry.
I guess, like, in mazes, you have to go the long way around to get to your destination, so forwards we go?
Yeah. And if it ends up the wrong way, we'll just come back and try another route.
I thought
Or
the
be
thing
lost forever, but, you know, at least we're all as a group.
I thought
Exactly.
I thought the thing with mazes was always keep to your left.
No, that's escalators.
No. If you always keep to your left in the maze and just keep following it
What-
around,
What
you
are
eventually get to
escalators?
the exit. What's an escalator?
It's a magically enchanted set of stairs so that you don't have like if you live in a castle or a giant library like we do, like it's really hard having to walk up all those stairs, so they just move for you.
Oh,
So if you're
yeah, and I
carrying like a
bet,
big stack of books, you don't have to worry, it just takes you.
Like
and I
we,
bet all of the Yetis use them as well, don't
No,
they?
honestly,
you
You
used
can't
one,
imagine having a Yeti in the library, that's just like asking for trouble.
but Kesh'an, you used exactly what she was explaining in our performance. The stones were rising as you were running up the stairs.
That's
No, this is like
magic, it's not
if you've
real.
ever seen a Tensor's floating disc spell, it's like that, but like continuous in like a loop, and it just takes you all the way up.
Nope, don't
being-
get it. It scares me.
And I don't like being tense. I prefer to be relaxed.
huh? I wonder who
Basically,
this
just,
group
like,
of
you
adventurers
keep
are.
left so anyone in a hurry can just walk past you.
Dibs on the dwarf.
This is literally you guys as you're having this conversation, sort of with lights and
Yep.
flames. Just
I'm
lighting
just
the
curious
way.
which one is each. So that's my guess. Like dibs on the dwarf because he's got the belt of dwarven kind.
The one with the hood is obviously Andi.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one's got a lantern in the middle, so I guess that would have to be Kesh'an.
Which means Elias is the one with the long hair.
Yep.
Yep, figures.
And then Eirina's just the smoke behind us.
Yeah, in the
Eirina's
dark.
the little blue light in the hooded one's hand. Is just
Yeah,
Eirina.
sure. That makes...
She has nothing to do with what's happening. She's just explaining escalators.
Yep.
So this is effectively the tunnel for the next 10-20 minutes, continually walking down this cylindrical worked tunnels. It's unlike any of the other tunnels we've seen before it.
Does it look like it was made by, like, if you look at, like, worm tunnels? Because I'm just wondering about my theory about the giant worm down here.
You can roll a nature check.
Nature?
We'll also roll a
Right,
nature
so-
check as I look into this because I was wondering one of two things. Is this made by worms or is this made by lava?
Eirina, you may have a theory, but as you're looking at it, something distracts you, apparently. It's probably people bumping into you as you stop. Yes, spider. Even spiders need to breathe down here. But yeah, as you kind of like stop to look at the wall, probably everyone bumps into you. It's like, why are we stopping? Meanwhile, Karius, you're kind of on your glaive, so you see the
Yep.
commotion down below as they're all bumping into each other, and you're just looking up at the tunnel's ceiling. And it looks like there's this kind of almost spiral-like shape to it. And that kind of rules out the idea that it was shaped by a wall of stone or some sort of spell. The spell would be much more efficient in causing this
Yeah,
whole. But a
it'd be
spiral,
straighter.
yeah, exactly.
Spiral almost makes it look like something that's purposely dug, like a drill or a burrowing
There you go.
creature.
Right, that's exactly it. A drill, a burrowing creature, and as you're going along as well, you can spot, or rather, you can probably smell. There's this scent in the air, kind of this musty scent. Unlike the other tunnels, it smells like clay or kind of a sulfurous scent as well. It's it smells like really fresh earth. It's not just cold stone. There's a freshness to the earth. That's how I can describe it. Like when you're in the back garden and you're digging up the earth,
Hmm.
it smells like that.
Which would
Well,
suggest.
it's be worms, but I'm too dumb to figure it out.
No, you just got distracted.
Yeah,
Oh,
Karius is just sort of goes, huh. This tunnel's fresh.
and you get the little telepathic message from Taklo again telling you the grinding sound is getting louder.
I think we might be following whatever's digging. Which will be, what were they called, these giant things you mentioned that were down here?
Arthak worms.
Yeah. Probably don't want to run into them ourselves, but then again, if we follow them at enough of a distance, it's possible they might dig us to a tunnel that's close to our destination. Zybit, you got any hiccup on the main crystal?
Zybit's just kind of tapping around, and it says, I'm afraid that we're too deep in the earth for me to pick up on any crystals in either way. Unless perhaps you ring that geode of yours. Yes.
Karius. But then what?
Yeah. Well, you said we're following a Sarthak worm?
Yeah.
Perhaps loud noises might echo through this tunnel.
That is true. So we don't want to be too loud, but
It's loud enough to echo off the crystals. It's loud enough that a worm might hear it.
Though that does give potential for a few things. These are worms. Are there a lot of them, do you know, or is it just like a couple?
Yeah, do they travel in packs?
Impossible to say. The worms are dangerous creatures. Most keep their distance when they hear tremors. They don't make homes near them, especially tunnels like this.
If we ever got into trouble, do you think we could just make a loud noise and one would appear?
That's what I was thinking. That could be a good way to attract one of them as a distraction at some point. It might also be if we see one going away that we don't want them to, we can potentially, for example, myself, go to an area, ring the bell, and then move out of that area. So
there's another deep booming tremor as you guys stand there inspecting the wall for a moment. Shudders this entire place. You can see soil kind of falling down onto your heads, and it's actually falling from all directions. It's almost like this place is being like pressured and pincered in.
Looking at the floor, or the ceiling, or the walls, or whatever,
Yeah.
is there a distinct direction in which, like, everything seems to be pulling towards, like, in terms of if something tunneled through here, in theory, it would drag the edges in whichever direction it went. Is there a way to, if stuff has fallen off the floor, then I imagine, like, if it's been pulled backwards, there'd be more debris in the opposite direction it was traveling, to figure out if it's coming towards us or away from us.
Okay, good question. Yeah, you can roll an investigation check for this one.
25.
You definitely get a sense that the tunnel was dug forwards as you suspected. You are in the wake of one of these worms.
So it's traveling ahead of us.
That's right.
Okay, so we don't have to necessarily worry about it coming at us yet.
Maybe.
Then let us press on.
Hopefully
And,
it hasn't already looped.
The Sarthak worms normally go in one direction unless they're perhaps alerted by a noise or a source of food.
Now let's. If we stay quiet and keep following, we might come to alternate tunnels.
Okay.
You know, there was this crazy old librarian at the library, right? He kept worms. He was some sort of agricultural studier. You know, like, they'd ingest all the earth that they kind of, like, dug out. They'd eat it all and come out backside like poop, but, like, fresh soil. That's what that smell is.
Yeah. We had a bunch back in the
Exactly.
pool. It helped keep the soil fertile for growing stuff. We had to import those from abroad because there weren't many in the desert.
Like, super weird, but also, like, kind of cool.
Yep. Poop has power.
Truly, it does.
At least
Indeed,
it smells
that's exactly
decent.
the smell.
That's
Irene, it's a moment of nostalgia as you're smelling that. As you're pressing on then and following cautiously and maybe a bit quieter now, you can all give me stealth checks, and we'll go from there. Snag got 10. So yep, you all spot Snag in the tunnel following behind you.
I mean, I'll take an 11 for myself. It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah,
25.
25 disadvantage. That's insane.
Disadvantage.
Oh really? You got this.
And still got 25.
Okay. Oh. So 21, 16, 25. This is 1, 2. And is there anyone else we're missing?
The speaker, I guess.
Oh yeah, I rolled for him. 10.
Oh, I didn't see the
Eirina's
10.
too busy talking about worm poop, apparently.
1, 2, 3. Succeeded. 1, 2, 3. Failed. So we're at a kind of a tiebreaker here. Guess we'll have to use average after.
The average is 15.3.
15.3.
Yep.
Wow.
The DC is 50.
Yay! We win.
You 0.3 it.
Nice.
The DC, yeah, the passive perception of these is 15.
Oh,
And
wait.
I'll say,
Yeah, there's 6 of
Sure.
us, yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah, it's just making sure I've
I've
done the
got to
division
treat the
right.
charisma and the speaker as one, effectively.
Yeah, that's what I was
because
doing
the
for me and Taklo because he's riding on my glaive.
Yeah, and the charisma sort of tapping around, probably making lots of noise, ringing as well. And yes, definitely, Eirina, you're nattering on about your memories from the library, which kind of echoes down the tunnel as you're talking, projecting your voice far further than you had actually anticipated. And you were right in
Projecting my voice, just talking very animatedly.
Yeah, you're not the only thing that's animated down here. As you get closer and closer, you actually see the much more defined spiral pattern. The smell of the earth becomes more pungent, and again, that sulfury clay. And you can see up ahead stalactites, like fresh stalactites, have been like shattered and broken away. And they lay on the floor, kind of crumpled into pieces. This is the tunnel that you're in now, and as it's crumbled and sections have actually broken away, you actually see what the stalactites were in an existing cave, of course. Otherwise, it would just be solid earth. In that existing cave, you see a tunnel that kind of moves around and opens up. The mouth of that tunnel is, well, I can take you to the map. Rather than describe it, I might as well drag you there now. Because sounds like you've actually found what you were looking for. A breach in the tunnel following this worm. And for just a briefest of moments, you actually hear the grinding sound up ahead, not just Tackler anymore, but everyone hears a kind of churning, drilling sound. And it stops for a moment. You hear kind of a small shudder, like something's rustling in the earth. And then the resuming grinding sound. And it sounds like it gets further away. Let's drag you onto the map. Okay. We're going to start down.
Does anyone mind if we take a quick 5-minute break?
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be good.
We will be back in 5 minutes or so. Join us then.
Andi is to save me moving both tokens.
Kesh'an is
Wow.
like, fuck this, I'm not going
I
in
put
that.
both the tokens on top of each other.
Yeah, that'll do.
You can move them together.
Mm-hmm.
So as you approach this bluish crystal, you see Zybits is tink, tink, tink on the side of it, and there's a slight thrumming from it. And Zybits kind of excitedly scuttles around in a little circle, and the speaker says, "Ah, seems Zybits has found one of the first crystals.
One of
This will be used to form the nexus and the network back in the invisible maze of the fifth region. We will need to bring this back with us."
Hey,
how big is it?
It's quite big. It's like almost like a tall barrel sized. If you stacked two barrels on top of each other, it's about that big.
Is it thin?
No, but it's the same sort of size and dimensions as that. Sort of cylindrical, tapers to a point at the end though.
It's not something we could just stuff the bag of holding over the top of and just magic trick it down.
A bit too big for that. And it's solid, so you can't really stuff it.
No, I mean like if it was thin enough, you could just put the bag over the top and just
The
shimmy
other
it
issue
down.
is it's sort of two crystals, one sort of jutting off to the side,
It's a
and that'll
sharp.
probably catch. Unless you shattered it into smaller pieces, but in any case,
Are we allowed to break it?
no. If you break it, this will then be unusable.
Have you got like super crystal lifting?
It looks at you for a moment, and there's like a little glint in his eye as Zybits begins excavating this crystal, and you hear it kind of like starts digging it out from the earth. I will, once the crystal is free. This will only take a moment.
Do you become one with the crystal, and then you become a audio speaker?
Yes, we have to sync up our Bluetooth.
I mean, it is a blue
Careful with
crystal.
things
That
like
would
that,
make
you might
sense.
become one with the trees.
Beyond this crystal, you see the tunnel extends on a little bit further. And you see a very strange formation of rock that almost shaped like a cactus. But it's definitely stone as you look at it. And it's not the most out of the bizarre thing you've seen. After all, you've come across stone fruit. Who's to say there isn't stone cacti? But you're all standing still at the moment. Guess you're waiting for the speaker.
Like, how much of it is there? Is it like more than 5 foot?
Of crystal.
Yeah.
Two barrels stacked on top of each other is probably about that size, yeah.
What about 5 foot?
In length, yeah.
Huh. I could fabricate it into something. If it's not like magical. Is it magical? Is it a magical item?
Why would you wish to fabricate it? We need the crystals in their form
Oh, you need them
so that we
exactly.
can ring it.
I could fabricate it into a bell.
A bell has a low, dull tune. This crystal has a high pitch, almost hypersonic sound.
I could turn it into a triangle.
A triangle is still too low a pitch.
What about a dog
Can
whistle?
you?
What if I turned it into a dog whistle?
You don't know what a dog whistle is.
Sorry, a wolf whistle. I forgot there's no dogs in this world.
There's no wolves either, and there's no whistles. You probably haven't invented the means to create a dog whistle yet. Like, In any case, why would you wish to turn the crystal into something that is useless?
Well, I was trying to think of an easier way of transportation because you've not told me what you're going to do with it yet.
Zybits, have you finished? You hear finally dig out kind of around the bottom of the crystal, and it's at this point the speaker begins offering out his hands slightly, and then a ringing sound emanates from him. This is why I am called the speaker. And it is very high pitched at first, and it gets higher and higher, and it sounds like it's getting quieter the higher it gets. But you do realize it's actually just going into the pitch that your ears cannot pick it up. And it reaches that point where it's so subtle. Just when it's about to vanish, you see the crystal begin to hover up into the air. And it starts to float slowly towards the speaker and starts to orbit him very slowly.
So, with Kesh'an being a cat, would he be able to hear it still?
Yeah. Oh my god, Kesh'an, it is this awful racket going on.
Yeah.
Something like beep, just in your ear.
Ow.
You say it's like orbiting him,
Mm-hmm.
like an Ioun stone.
Just like an iron stone, yeah.
Okay,
In fact,
interesting.
What's
there
an
it
iron
is.
stone?
Oh,
Yeah.
Dad had one at his casino as one of the prizes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you actually see it? Circling, isn't it?
Round,
See it?
round,
There it
round.
goes. Alright, we have collected the first crystal. We'll need a number of these to set up in several corners of the maze.
Oh, cool. So, we carry on until we find the next one?
Correct.
Oh. Just walking beside Ariam like, I own stone. It just sounds like a fancy way of saying I own stone.
Well, there's different types apparently. They do different things. They just kind
What's
of. I can imagine they're very distracting because they kind of float around your head and you have to
Yeah.
focus. And then if you lose focus, just.
I wouldn't put one around Kesh'an's head. You might get really distracted.
You come across a fork in the road, more like a crossroads. You can see
What?
branching paths to the right, left, forwards.
Do we split up?
Which
No.
way is the compass pointing?
Straight down.
Hmm.
Wow.
Now, can I see what I can see on the map as Eirina? Is
Correct.
that my vision? Okay. Then I can see the big shiny thing at the end of the tunnel.
Where's your... Oh, that crystal, you mean?
Hmm.
Correct. All the way down this long, darkened tunnel, there is a glowing of a crystal. Correct. Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm just
There
gonna
is
kind
also
of
some
go.
just ambient light that's coming from nearby. Eirina, up ahead, you see it. In the middle of the darkness, there are several humanoid-shaped structures ahead of you, and one is far larger than the other.
Boy. That's a
They
big boy.
As they stand there, you see that there's parts of the segments of torso and arms that are just hovering in place, completely still. In one of their hands, they wield this incredibly long stone cleaver that's just sharpened to a point. It still looks like an incredibly heavy edge.
Okay.
The other two are wielding kind of smaller swords made of stone as well.
everybody down here has dark vision except for Andy, correct?
Right. Yours just extends way before.
Yeah.
Way further.
I just want to make sure that the guys can actually see me as I kind of frantically start waving my hands, gesturing them over.
Yeah, they can, yeah. And I'm guessing with Andy being next to you, you can stop her dead in her tracks right
Yeah,
where
I'm
you are.
just like, I literally grab her by like the scruff of the hood and just like, no, you're not going that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I get everyone just to kind of congregate in my area because I've got this big jutting rock to kind of hide us all for the time being. And then we can huddle and like whisper. I explain everything that's going on and what I can see with my half-elf eyes.
Wait, I can't see it with my half-elf eyes.
With my Candlewick enhanced half-elf eyes.
Oh, that makes more sense.
As the
Cool.
speaker begins to approach and huddles up to you, for you, Kesh'an, you can still hear this ringing noise in your ear. And as you huddle up, as the speaker huddles next to you, Eirina, you suddenly see these three constructs begin to spark to life. And you see a crackling of blue lightning almost, but it's like a little flash of light, almost like magic is whirring and animating these things inside. And you see them kind of all their shoulders begin to like flex up and hunch, and they suddenly start to thump forwards.
boy.
I'll just push the speaker back the way he came.
Okay, yeah, he kind of floats backwards with the
And
crystal
then I
in
turn
tow.
over my shoulder and check on the other guys.
They are continuing down this tunnel. Almost as
So
if
they're still coming to life.
They are, yes.
Let's head up this tunnel over here then.
But there's a big crystal down this way.
Well, maybe if we head up there, then let them go past.
Oh my god, Kesh'an.
Yeah, I misclicked.
Okay, we can see how
Run
that
up.
Nah.
works. Let's try it. Let's stealthily
Yeah,
duck down this tunnel.
Yeah, if you're discussing this, then your voices do echo. Just want to shout that out. Okay, you rush down this tunnel instead.
Mhm.
Down here, you can actually hear the sound of something kind of plodding around, and it comes into the light of the crystal as a lot of
Oh,
you
no.
enter in, and it begins sort of just routinely sort of turning, and then as it reaches the crystal, you see its upper torso rotate around, and then slowly its legs begin to follow suit, and then its head finally fully spins around and then begins autonomously patrolling back and forth. There is quite a lot of foundation as well from some sort of a ruined building or structure. These little alcoves and bridges that are quite low to the ground, and you're behind one of these giant rock stone cactuses as well. But as you do go down this little corridor, and where did you send the speaker? Did you send it back the way you guys first initially came in?
I thought they were coming with us.
I only pushed him a little bit further away. I didn't.
So he's with you. Is that what you're saying?
Is that the smartest thing to do, guys? Is he coming with us or?
I mean, it's either that or he's left by himself, unable to defend himself potentially.
Sounds like he's with
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, I prefer him to be with us.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I thought. But I just wanted to make sure everyone
Alright.
was on the same page.
All of you can hear the loud thudding, the pebbles and debris underfoot being crushed by these heavy constructs. And they seem to walk all the way past and up to the crystal where you guys first came in. And you actually hear a sound that sounds like a chime, but it's sort of slightly distorted, almost song-like. It's like ding ring here.
Oh, it's a warning. They've alerted. It's alarm time.
It wasn't quite deafening, but you heard it sound from here because it seems like sound echoes quite easily from around here. The speaker begins to look around and says, "Eirina, how did you know they were there? How did you know they were coming?"
Because I can see really, really far in the dark.
I see.
Do you?
All the while, Kesh'an, you can constantly hear a constant ringing coming from the speaker.
Hmm.
So are we? I mean, I
Okay,
guess
so the constant ringing attracts this troop, which is over here.
I was gonna
I
say
need you to roll initiative.
we need to do something.
Yeah, it seems like the more of these we have, the more it's likely to attract things.
Right.
Huh. He is one big alarm. He's basically an ambulance. He's just or a police siren. He's just going wee 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 to all their things.
Yep.
I thought it was just super loud to me. That was my bad.
It is just super loud to you. Only you can hear this constant ringing, but the rest of the party just saw these animated constructs suddenly lift up and move towards you. Some reason. I mean, yeah, you've guessed it. The speaker is clearly attracting them, but I don't think you've told anyone. So let's roll initiative. The Carnifex construct here that's patrolling back and forth as you kind of come into this tunnel hears the speaker as he catches up to you and begins to turn, and he immediately begins walking forward. So I'm going to actually move him. He moves up 30 feet, and then he gets another 30 feet by dashing, and effectively gets right up to him as the source of the. It's very evident now that the speaker is clearly the source of the alert. And as it gets right up to the speaker, you see its arm begin to float up, lifting this massive sword made of stone. Looks like it could easily shatter the crystal, and he's just about to swing. It's Andy's go.
Okay. Andy seeing this is going to. Let me just check something. Is the speaker not going on the turn order?
He's concentrating on the spell to like lift this,
Oh, he's
but I'll put him on the turn order because
Just for the sake of.
yeah,
Okay,
he's
that
actually
works.
oh, he's actually next. Seems like he sees this coming. He might just disengage though.
Yeah, I was thinking that's the smart thing.
That's fine. That kind of works for what I had in mind for Andy. Andy is going to reach over to the speaker and is going to cast Fly on him.
Lie.
Yeah.
He can already sort of levitate himself.
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't-
this means he can get like 60 foot away.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sure.
And he can also go up rather than
Yeah,
just away.
sure. All right. So the speaker can now fly.
Actually, I think if she does it at a higher level, she can do it on more than one.
You can. Correct. Yeah.
So it makes sense that she would also probably cast it on herself.
Sure.
Can she cast it on herself? It doesn't
Yeah.
say.
She can.
Sweet. Yeah, and she's gonna go up and out of danger rather than moving along the ground. She's gonna go up.
This tunnel is actually quite cramped. The caverns in front of you are massive. You could easily get up to the
Yeah,
ceiling.
she'll go
but-
up, like as high as she can outwards.
Okay,
rather
so
than just
forwards
staying
and up.
put.
So you can
Yeah.
go forwards like 30 feet and up 30 feet.
Yeah, because it's 60 foot of movement, isn't it?
That's right.
Cool. Yeah, she'll do
So
that.
she's way up in by the stalactites right now. Okay, that's her go.
Yep.
Karius.
Karius sort of considers what he's been told about this place. and, attracting worms with sound, and realizes his usual tactics for these might not be best, but let's see what he can do. Well, he's still going to use the geode flail. But I think in this case, I'm just gonna... How much sound does that make? So I'm just checking something.
Booming blade is fucking loud. If you're
Yeah.
looking at that.
Yep. So he's just gonna swing with the geode flail.
Okay. So wait, what did you get? 19 is a hit.
Yep.
Does decent 10 bludgeoning damage as stone on stone impact, and lets out a kind of a loud crunch noise, but nowhere near as loud as what a booming blade might have been.
Mm-hmm.
As it kind of tilts back and leans forward, trying to swing, and it's being kind of interrupted, it just lets out this strange kind of, again, chime music, almost musical, but it's sort of distorted at the same time. It's like,
and that is me.
okay,
This
Elias.
turn.
Are we worried about sound right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a thing? Cool. Cool.
Because it could
let's,
attract giant worms.
let's make the battle a bit quieter.
Silence.
Yeah.
Very clutch.
Now do as many. Actually, I do it a little bit over because the speaker needs to be in there.
Okay,
My bad.
that's fine. There it
Yeah.
is. Attack close up, unless you want to do anything else, Elias.
Fuck.
Taklo is just gonna stay back with Eirina, I think.
Yeah, I don't
Eirina.
think I have any bonus actions that can benefit this right now.
No, not in silence. All right, Eirina.
Yeah.
You can't cast verbal spells in a silent spell, just so you're aware.
But you can step
Yeah.
out and then
And like,
I mean, you do have a sword.
yes.
Which works.
Yeah. Like all my spells are verbal.
Yeah. They almost 90% of 5e spells are verbal, so
But
Yeah.
you can step out of the silence and cast into the silence.
you can do that.
If you wanted to Eldritch Blast, you could step out and then Eldritch Blast in. If that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And your explosions if they go off wouldn't make a sound.
Yeah.
This will do.
It's gonna be. It's just this
Yeah.
one guy.
Yeah, I'm just going to. Hang on, how far can I get? Yeah, I'm just gonna go up to him and strike him a couple of times.
Okay, go ahead.
One.
Hit.
Number two.
Have you got him targeted?
No. Sorry,
Hold up.
I forgot.
That was a good chunk of a hit on the second one.
Did it
Damn.
hit?
Yeah. Oh wait, no. Sorry. My bad. It did not.
You didn't
The
say.
second hit impacts this construct, and you can see that the armor on it, although made of stone, as you impact it, there's some sort of almost like energy surge from it as well that sort of boom, pulses back, but it doesn't make a single sound
Okay.
because you're in silence. But it looked like it would have made quite a boom pulse, but you can even feel your hair kind of like get whooshed back slightly.
Cool. Yeah, that ends my turn.
Okay.
I'm just gonna stay
Kesh'an?
where I am.
You. So I'm gonna pull out the ice fire wheels and sprint in, and with a quick bap bap
Yeah, this guy's surrounded. You can probably get some decent hits in. You have to fix that so it doesn't wall of text. For even with flanking, that is actually a miss.
That looks like it's rolled wrong though.
It's added +5, which is a dex, but it's not got your proficiency. Okay.
No.
Actually, it's the Look. Are you proficient in it?
What's the +2 for?
I should
No,
be.
no. You are now. There you go. Try now.
So
Oh,
that
would
would
have
have
been a hit,
been
actually. Would
yeah.
have been an 18. Yeah, that's a hit. So 20
Cool.
damage.
Uh,
Wow. The first swing, the first impact of this, you actually fully feel the power of these things as both slashing cold and fire collide and sever chunks of this thing into pieces. Rock is cracking open. And you can hear it. Well, you can't hear anything, but yeah.
I'll go for my next one then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whack. That's better.
Another one. You can feel a scraping as you're getting further through the stone, and it's falling apart. One of its arms just thuds to the ground. It's falling.
Awesome. And I'll just go for a quick bonus action jab to the center. Cool.
All right. Nice.
That damage is also rolling wrong, isn't it? Because we're now on D4s.
Oh yeah, you need to change that. Yeah, just go into your sheet and edit it to change it to
ED4?
3d4. Yeah, +5. Yeah, should be plus your mod. After that, it is still standing enough for perhaps one swing. It seems to assess targets. Getting hit from behind, so it's probably going to go for the one in front. It's going to go for Eirina. And you're glad that you put a silence, dude. Because as it goes to swing forward, you see the maul that it's holding in its hand begins to kind of shudder incredibly fast. And then tries to hit you with this.
Yeah, my sentinel's gonna pop.
Okay. Yep, you will get an attack.
Cool.
Just to see if I hit Eirina.
Oh, and it's a crit.
Nice. Okay. Very good. That will finish him off. Just as he's swinging back to hit Eirina, and you see it like powering up, you see it like shuddering and shuddering.
It comes up.
Energy.
And then suddenly Kesh'an's just like.
And as Kesh'an smacks into the back of it, you see the mace actually shatter. And it probably would have made an incredibly loud boom, as that was a thunderous strike ready to go. And it just gets deafened.
I can imagine as Kesh'an's behind it, the only thing they see are these two wheels just kind of poke out through its chest. And it just bursts with fire and ice. And as it falls down, you just kind of see Kesh'an stood behind it like...
Yeah.
Obviously shouting, "Did you guys see that?" But you hear nothing.
Yeah, it's just like, you can hear him mouthing something.
Eirina's just like, that's so cool!
Elias is just there like, thumbs up.
Because you silenced the attack, we're actually going to end combat. Instead of rolling anything else onto initiative. That one loud boom would have absolutely alerted everything in the vicinity, but you get away clean. That means then, after you, like you said, through the chest, you look down, and amongst the debris of rubble, there's actually shards of crystal.
Does it look similar to
completely shattered?
Does it look similar to the same crystal that we're after?
It does. Although there are only fragments of it, it's still kind of got that bluey glow to it. But as it's kind of dying out.
I mean, that would explain why they're resonating with them. and also why they might be hoarding them because they're using them to make more.
Cameron.
Before we continue on, Kesh'an is just going to walk over to the speaker, and I could imagine he's kind of like floating about head height at this point. So he just kind of taps his foot and just says, "You like stay," like just pointing to the ground beneath him, like stay.
He
He'll
nods.
then walk over to the others, tap you all on the shoulder and gesture to follow, and he'll take you out the circle. So the reason why that construct attacked us, I'm not sure if you guys can hear it, but the speaker's emitting quite a loud noise.
Looking at the crystal that was in that construct, it looks like it's the same sort of crystal, so they must be resonating off of each other.
I just don't really know if only the constructs are going to react to it, or if the worm is as well.
That is a point I had not considered.
Well,
Because it's not so much a noise, because you guys can't hear it. I think it's more of a vibration or even something that's connected to its energy, is my best guess.
I mean, there's one way to find out. Taklo, that grinding sound, can you hear it getting closer?
Taklo shakes its head.
Alright. What?
So
No, go ahead, Elias, sorry.
interesting is I've never actually done it before, but we could periodically place down silence, areas of silence, and it wouldn't cost me anything other than 10 minutes to cast. And then we could have
Good
the
point.
speaker rush from place to place. It'd take a bit longer for us to do this, but at least have him rush from silent spot to silent spot.
Maybe we could lure the constructs into it, and set up an ambush. Can you actually see the zone of silence?
Elias knows where it is. The others can't see anything.
Cool. So it's like an invisible barrier per se.
Yeah, it's just an invisible. Yeah, sphere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could set up a dome of silence, and then somebody could debate the constructs in.
Yeah.
I have the perfect thing for this.
Are you about to say exactly what I said, but in an Elias voice?
Yes, but
Yeah.
I also collected the alarm stones from the manor.
Okay.
Good idea, but surely all we'd have to do is have the speaker stand outside the silence, wait until they get close enough, and all he's got to do is back into it.
Yeah.
But once again, I don't think it should be the speaker to do it. I think the speaker needs to remain in the silence as much as possible. We want a visual lure rather than an audio.
Okay.
Just in case the worm is attracted to it.
I'm thinking at the moment, is this one of the crystals here that we can see?
Yeah, it begins to sort of slowly light up.
I'm thinking if we can get Zybits to get this crystal out and then we take them back to the speaker, just keep the speaker there for now whilst we scout out some more of these.
Yeah.
How long does this silence last?
10 minutes.
Okay.
So we're a bit low on the 10 minutes, but he's. How long does fly last?
10 minutes.
Oh, so they're both about to go around about the same time. He'll have
Let me
about.
double check.
But the combat lasted like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So we got plenty of time.
Yeah, he'll probably be about 30 seconds to a minute, depending on how long we've been talking.
Yeah, like 10 minutes, yeah.
So I'll start ritually casting silence here.
Again.
I'll hide behind the crystal.
Okay. As you come around the corner, Elias, you do see two more constructs. This one seems to be a larger construct. This one with a huge cleaver. The other one's the smaller one with the maul. And they seem to be looking at this crystal for a moment.
Just
Yeah, I warn everybody with hand signals.
Yeah.
And I hide behind this crystal and start
Yeah.
doing silence.
yeah.
Silence to cast it is a somatic component and verbal, right? Silence is verbal, right?
Weirdly, to create a silent area, you have to be verbal.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what you see, Elias. You see this Carnifex construct beginning to walk up to this crystal in a similar fashion and then rotate and then begins patrolling back towards this crystal. What do you do? You may be hidden, but you've noticed I haven't asked for a
Yeah.
stealth check
Yeah.
because
Silence.
whilst talking, you may be out of sight, but you have to speak to actually cast
Yeah.
silence.
Also,
Just cast silence.
in terms of those crystals, we know they respond to magic, so casting near them is probably not the best.
Actually,
They
I
respond
feel
to
like-
certain types of magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna come over here anyway. So I wait till it gets close enough to the crystal, then I just outright cast silence.
Okay. Outright casting silence means this thing, as it tries to alert perhaps the bigger construct at the back, doesn't do so. And you might actually be able to do this, picking them off one by one, seems.
It
All
just
right.
sees me pop my head around from the crystal and just wave at it and like
Okay, nice. In that case, we'll chuck you back on initiative. See how quickly you can kill this thing. Alright.
That's a better
Natural
initiative.
10.
Okay. This time, however, Karius is first.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, off you go.
I'm just trying to remember. With silence, because I remember something happening in regards to it with Hysteria. Does thunder damage not work in silence?
Nope, I don't think it does.
Okay.
you can change it to whatever damage you want, can you?
Yes, but I literally can't use Booming Blade because it's verbal.
In fact, you would actually have seen the crystal that the speaker was like hovering just above probably falls to the ground, like thump, and falls over when you moved the silence. Sorry, when you cast silence on him. When you moved it away, you see it.
Okay.
He goes to like lift it back up, but then you can see he clearly thinks otherwise. He's just holding onto the crystal at the moment.
The noise is the
It is.
thing that rises it to the.
Yeah, it's like sonic convergence or something.
Interesting point. If he was to move over an enemy and then drop the huge crystal on them because I cast silence, that would probably do a chunk of damage.
It would also potentially damage the crystals.
These
Yeah.
things look physically quite strong, right, as well.
They're like the size of a humanoid, so, but they're clearly a construct. So I mean, judge that how you will.
Okay.
The one at the back, however, is literally 4 times the size.
Yeah, well, it was more, I was considering a spell to potentially restrain it, but obviously that's a strength save, and in this case, I don't think it's going to work. So what I will do, I will move in next to it.
Yep.
And because I only get one attack, I don't see any reason not to. I'm going to ready my action for the moment it starts moving.
Okay, it's now.
Yep. In which case that triggers, and it's V to do the versatile damage, right?
Yeah, should be. That's just a hit. Nice.
I didn't target it, sorry.
That's fine.
But 21 damage.
Very strong.
Wow.
As you're sort of sitting there, holding your attack, you're not actually being any threat to it. And you've got the flare, and you're like begin swinging around, building up momentum, and it just begins to walk around you, like ignoring you completely. And it goes towards Zybits, and at that very moment, boom, that impact hits it.
Oh yeah, because
for
they're
21
designed to
damage.
hunt the Chrismals. The Chrismals are a good attractor as well.
I
That's a
would
good
say you
point.
get an attack of opportunity, however, you just use your reaction.
Yep.
So it's
But-
sort of sat in between you and the Chrismal.
I mean,
But-
technically, Taclo could,
I mean,
but
yeah, technically.
familiars can only cast a spell if I cast it, and then it's their reaction, right? That's how familiar casting works.
Yeah, you need to use your reaction again. Yeah,
Yeah.
sadly.
So
But you got a good chunk of damage in at
yeah,
the very least,
that'll do.
holding that action.
Yeah.
It will bring around the maul and strike at Zybits. And you see a crack on Zybits, but he's holding together. But Zybits is like struggling away from it, and I'm afraid to take 11 points of damage. That's it though. Yeah, I can't do much more than this because. Oh wait, I got 2 attacks. Yeah, I got one more. Oh, another crack to Zybits. Fortunately, he's not holding together so well. You will need to save him, Elias. You're out. You're concentrating, right? Yeah, you are.
Am I able to drag Zybix back, or will that
You can drag him back.
like I'm looking to swap places with him right now?
Okay. I'll probably use up all your movement, but you could do that.
That's fine. I'll do that.
You get like 5, 10, 15, 20 back, and then 5, 10 back into the fray.
Yeah, just to get him out of the
Okay.
way.
Drag him away as he's still trying to dig the little crystal out, and his little hands are in the air like doggy paddling. Yeah, you've moved up.
Yeah. And then there's only one thing to do with this. Yeah.
Gonna get stuck in with that. Oh, trusty tentacle whip. Whack.
Yeah.
Hits.
Yeah.
Second one kind of slaps off of him, I'm afraid.
That-
The third one, rather.
Third one. It's a shame.
That is a shame. Okay, well, still, you're making good headway. And that definitely starts to crumble it. Andy's up.
Okay.
Clean line of sight on this
How
thing.
how bad does Zybits look?
Zybits he's got a crack on him, like he's damaged.
But
Yeah.
does he look like he's really badly damaged?
He's not bloodied yet. He's just above it. In fact, just because he's an ally, I'm gonna let you guys see his HP. Always for everyone. There you go. There's Zybits' HP.
He's okay for the time being then, and he's been moved away.
Any more and he'll be in Zybits and pieces.
Indeed.
I hate you so much.
Does kind of sound like a cereal though. I could see someone sitting down some crunchy Zybits in the morning.
Perfect, Zybit.
I do like Zybits. I kind of want to take him with me when we leave.
Problem is that fly is concentration.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it's been 10 minutes yet.
No, it's been a minute.
Okay, I want to get Andy.
Right.
Andy can just.
Wait, not even that.
There was quite a bit.
Mm.
Oh shit.
What?
No, don't worry. Ignore me. I just made a minute pass, that's all. Alright. What's Andy
Andy
gonna
is
do?
going to, Andy's gonna go and fly over to Zybits, kind of pick him up and fly up as far as she can, which isn't far, but there you go.
Let's see. 50 foot. Okay. You get to Zybits, and if you want to dash, you could fly him up.
Oh yeah, we'll do that then.
Can she
But that's
dash?
only a bonus action
Yeah.
because Andy has cunning action.
Okay.
So Zybits is like 30 feet in the air, and you've still got an action.
Oh.
All right. I can't use any spells because she's concentrating on flight.
Yeah,
So
use cantrips. She could use magic missile. She could use enthrall, pyrotechnics. There's loads. You see anything without a C on it?
yeah, no. But a lot of them are also verbal, and she's now in the silence. But I can move out of that, I guess.
You're up out of it. You're 30 feet out of it because you're in the air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The dome is only like 20.
Okay.
So this is
I have
dangling.
an idea. I'm just reading something. Give me a second.
Zybits will be up. So I'll have a little look what he can do. Zybits has got powers. Unfortunately, they are
Nice.
psionic. Well, no, they are sound, but also they're psionic. And the reason why the Chrismals were eliminated and bested by these things is because they were immune to the psychic damage. All right, Andy.
If
Magic
I
missile?
remember, well, I wasn't going to, but if you suggest it, then fine.
I mean,
I feel like I'm being hurried here, so just do
yeah,
it.
you are. I'm afraid
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know Andy's spells.
it's time for damage. The damage. All right, 25. That's gonna nearly destroy this thing. Kesh'an, you can finish it off.
Kesh'an's going to climb up this pillar and
Aye.
vault off it.
Yeah.
Nice. You got a good flank
and-
from that position. The
Meow.
thing is getting pelted by missiles in a silence. It's just like it looks like it's doing a dance without the actual sound. Okay, that finishes it off. Its head just cracks onto the side, and underneath the head you see a little crystal inside, like the neck area inside the actual structure itself. And it sort of thrums with power, like lights up, and then fades out. And you see the rest of the arms, legs that were kind of levitating there by some sort of gravity, they all just fall to the ground in pieces. Dum, 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 dum. And that ends, I guess, yeah, that ends combat again because there's no there's no sound. It's alerting the other things. So that's good. Okay, ending combat.
Huh.
Nice.
Stealthy.
Do you think I could animate these things with animate objects and then get it to go in a different direction and make a lot of noise?
They are objects now, technically.
You remember that for when someone dies.
Yeah.
The
But are they
bardic way, the bardic way of being a necromancer. Just
Okay. So you got this crumbled piece of construct. Zybits is like, I am okay now. I will extract the crystal. Please let me down.
see in our heads with that.
Yeah, telepathically. But it is it's just a very soft ringing.
Right.
It's not loud.
Yeah, just put him down.
Okay. Cyber finishes digging out the crystal, and the speaker kind of hurries over, seeing this, flies up it. There is another one of those creatures up ahead
It's a bigger one
by the
too.
crystal. It doesn't seem to have been alerted to us. How should we proceed?
Maybe we should. Wait, I can't speak. I just
No.
step out the thing and I send a message to people. I'll step on the other side actually where it's safe. I'll just send a message. I'm just like, should we bring it into the silence?
I mean, the problem with bringing it into the silence is it might have time to alert things whilst it's coming. Whereas that one, you managed to pop the silence just as it noticed us.
Are you able to put the silence on it from here?
I mean, I can't. I can do. It's another spell slot, but
I mean, can you do the ritual from here?
how can I do the ritual from here? What's that? What's the distance?
Long
120 foot.
Yep.
Yeah, I can. Cool, I'll do that
Because
You're going to cast silence on it.
as a ritual. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Karius is going to
Because
move up to this spot.
I was going to say I can literally get in it. So as soon as it's about to pop, I can literally sprint over there in 6 seconds.
Cool.
All right.
Another option that might help is if you, just in case it starts moving, if it does spot in the meantime, I could always pull it 10 foot. So if you wanted to put it a little bit closer to us.
Yeah. Like aim it like here.
That way it doesn't walk out of it.
Yeah. I'll do it. So the silence, the back of the silence, ends at him.
What shall we do with this drunken construct?
The dead one.
What shall we do with the drunken construct?
Does your weird wizardy friend want pieces, or is that just the fleshy kind?
I am the weird wizard one. What do you? The
speaker
speak.
Elias, you can make things out of stuff, right?
I could. I can.
If...
Not while I'm busy.
I know, but I'm just thinking, if we can gather the crystal shards from this one, and this one, could you potentially fabricate them into an entire crystal?
Yes.
Because then we'd need one less to get, right? How many of these do we need to speak, by the way?
I think isn't it 6? 1 for each corner. No. 8. If it's a cube.
Right. 8 vertices.
Right. So, I mean, if we can, between these three, if that can create a crystal and it still has the same sort of resonance, then that's one less that we've got, or it's a spare.
This is agreeable.
Alright, but first we have to deal with Big Boy.
I'm midway through it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you're already like 2 minutes into casting the spell. And this...
Sorry, I'm just calculating distance quickly.
This construct, after a while, you see its head sort of shift and turn to where the previous construct had patrolled. And you will hear a sort of sound like...
Just trying to contact
And I guess
them.
Kesh'an understands the language.
Oh,
because even though everyone else like, what the hell? you can hear a sort of strangely, it's almost musical, but at the same time it's very cold and formal in its speech patterns, almost militaristic at the same time. And it says
Snake,
uh,
snake.
it says Carnifex troop report.
Carnifex.
Carnifex troop, yeah.
Uh,
Trooper?
I'll be
Trooper.
relaying this.
Kesh'an, do you think you could mimic its voice?
Uh,
Because you can
well, I guess-
speak it, right?
I guess when I speak back, they just hear me speaking in their language, don't I?
That's
They
true.
understand you, but they don't hear it in their language. If you see what I mean? When you speak, it's more like through a channeled kind of key that the language flows and they'd understand you.
So effectively, I'm speaking in sign language.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sort of. In
And,
any
like,
case,
it's universal, but
this thing has clearly gone a few minutes without hearing back from the troop.
Need to do something. Need to mimic. Or something. Or we could just bring it into the silence.
You see its torso begin to slowly rotate.
I'll hide.
I mean, I
okay.
get.
Hiding.
Yeah.
Plans to
Karius
hide.
is beginning to behind him, just ready his weapon to swing at it as it comes nearby.
If
it
else is
comes towards us.
Because no one else is. Zivitz is going to help you out. And he begins dragging away the pieces to hide them.
Yeah,
troop.
that's not a bad idea.
Yes. Zivitz has got an intelligence of... Actually, let's not talk about that. Alright, everyone give me a stealth check. And I'm going to say that Andi, because they are flying up into the ceiling, they have advantage. They're practically all the way out. Like,
So, would I have disadvantage because I'm casting a spell? Oh, wait, I already have disadvantage.
yeah.
Would I
Andi
have disadvantage because I'm on the back of my glaive, so I'm not actually moving to make the chinking of the armor?
Everyone's fishing here.
Do I have advantage because I want a higher number?
No, we go by the normal rules for hiding in this moment, unless you want to dive into where the current silence is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. You could hide behind. Well, the crystal's not there anymore.
That's
Nope.
true, yeah. But there is a little pillar here.
Yeah, you
You
could
can
hide it.
potentially move around slowly.
Sure, I'll stealth over to there.
Okay, then you can have advantage. All right.
Okay, so I'll just
what did we
take
get?
the 9, which would then make it flat, so it's the same roll anyway, so it's a 5.
Big difference. Okay, Carnifex
Chris.
construct begins moving and saying, again in its own tongue, saying, "Troop, your report is due," and then it sort of stops and looks around the room. Eirina, you're back, way back there. Yeah, you're fine. Andi is completely hidden out of view, out of sight, out of earshot. So is the speaker in the sense that because he's flying up. Kesh'an, stealthy as a cat. This thing begins to make a sweep of the area, actively searching.
My chanting becomes very lower. Just... Oh my god.
Holy shit, we're on net 20.
What?
These things are clearly the patrol units that are sent outside of the nest because they know how to find things. Apparently, as it looks around, it spots Eirina, and its torso and legs begin to walk that way. However, as it's doing that, it also swings round this massive cleaver, like stone cleaver I've mentioned, and tries to swing it to chop away at Karius where you are. Because apparently it also spotted you just in that moment. Its head is still... Actually, its torso is facing towards Eirina, but its head suddenly turns to you and its arm swings round and probably decapitates the pillar that was here, just slicing straight through it. And
Let's
I'm
bring
gonna
it
need,
out. Let's bring it out.
yeah, we're gonna roll initiative, but yeah, we got
Fortunately, it's
time for
too
this
far
one.
away from my ready to action to trigger with this weapon.
And rolling initiative.
Wow.
Those who are hidden,
Yes, finally.
those who are
Oh,
hidden
that's finally.
don't have surprise, but you do have advantage on your first attacks if you wish to take them like that. We're about to fight a soldier.
Just a heads up. So mine rolled as Andy.
Probably had their token selected.
Yes.
But-
So it was a 18 on the dice plus 5.
It's not a problem. The Carnifex is only below. It's like right at the bottom anyway. Yeah, you can't physically go slower than him, so you're fine. I rolled really low, probably because he spent all of his momentum and initiative, as I said, smashing that pillar into pieces, thinking he may have just killed you, Karius, but there's this pillar that just sort of lopsidedly falls away onto the ground and shatters into pieces. And yeah, we're gonna go into initiative. So starting at the top, Andi, and yeah, what does she want to do? She is hidden.
Yeah, Andi is going to hold magic missile until this thing is in the silence because she knows how much noise it's probably gonna make.
Okay.
Does magic
Gotcha.
missile sound like a firework?
They sound like stars. So yes, little comets.
Aren't,
Elias,
com-
sorry, Kesh'an.
aren't comets just little fireworks
Oh.
though?
Kesh'an is going to sprint down, and I am going to attack it. I want to say this because I want to use my flurry of blows first off, if I may.
Yep.
So the effectively Kesh'an sprints down and double foot boots it, hopefully hitting.
See.
You did have advantage because
19.
you were hidden, so
Oh, okay.
correct.
I'll roll once more just in case.
yeah.
Okay. So the first one's a hit.
Nope.
And yeah, using a new kind of trained martial arts, rather than making one really loud punch, kind of weave and bob in, and then just quick strikes.
Oh, I thought you bicycle kicked it in.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same then, like a bicycle kick.
Oh no, I was just going like drop kick.
Drop kick here.
Yes, so I will need a. Oh, it's a strength saving throw. Dex
Strength,
is
okay.
been knocked prone.
Strength save it is. Natural 20
course.
again.
Con save though. Why not? Let's go.
Okay. Yep. Do that.
Oh my god. Axe.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay. So we're going for the the second one.
That's a miss. And you don't have advantage
that-
anymore.
What that?
No, that would have been a
Oh.
15 anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, we
But
would have.
the-
Okay, then.
The first roll was a
Why is
15
my AC so low?
Guessing because they're bigger.
because it's big.
It's
I
easy
mean,
to
yeah,
hit.
it's bigger, but okay. It should have been more armor than that, but okay.
Give us another strength save.
Okay, strength it is.
Come on, baby.
Oh my god, I
That
failed.
fails. Booyah. So that will throw it back 15 feet.
Whoosh.
Right where the last one died.
And I'll just stroll in and my third flurry of blow strike. 18.
That's a hit. Okay.
Deck save, why not?
Dex save, no, that's good. Oh dear. 14 fails.
Fails. It's not prone,
Oh,
which is
yeah, it would make a
perfect.
loud thud, but it just silently drops to the ground.
And I'm going to be going for the shoulder blades with my main weapons to try and disarm it.
Oh,
Literally.
okay. Sure.
So, whack.
So,
They want to
disarm.
hit.
When you hit with a weapon, you can attempt to knock a weapon out of the target's grasp.
Oh,
Make a
sorry, no,
roll.
I mean literally take off its arms.
Yeah, I
Oh.
thought it was a pun, like disarm.
Yeah,
both of the
sorry.
shoulder blades.
Oh, I see. Okay, damage it is. You go to disarm it, and there is actually a gap where its arm should connect. There's no elbow joint. It's just a floating forearm through some sort of gravity or magic.
Wait, but I
But you
thought
still hit the actual shoulder, and that gets a good chunk of damage in.
Nice.
interesting
And
point. Sorry. If creatures and that, like the crystal dropped when it was in the silence, is he not created the same? Would his arms not just drop because they're not connected in the silence?
No. There is some sort of gravity instead, and you can see runes on these creatures, but they're all kind of cracked. Almost look like they've, over time, over some ancient amount of time, sort of broken up. Or maybe he's just seen enough battle that they kind of seem to be damaged.
That's a shame. Anyway,
Mm.
carry on. Sorry.
Okay, so that's a good chunk of damage. Oh,
I
God,
still
alright.
have one more attack.
Oh, okay, let's keep going.
Natural 20.
Oh no. 27 damage. Yeah, the fire and cold are wreaking havoc on this constructed form. It's not going to live much longer. It might not even get to its round. Let's see. Elias, you're up. You're hidden.
Before that happens, it moved into the silence, therefore Andy's magic missile goes
Yeah.
off.
Oh, yes, go ahead and click that. A flurry of magic missiles just home in, collapse down. They're reverse fireworks because they're coming from the air onto the ground. So they do actually look like little shooting stars raining down, a little comet shower. And this thing is left in practically pieces. It's just got an arm that's still holding grip. Elias.
Oh, it's still alive.
Yep, it's got an arm that's like lifting up. The actual hand with the sword is levitating up. Is about to swing at Kesh'an.
Can I attack while No, or do I have to use my action to keep doing the spell?
You have to do your action. Keep doing the spell if you want. Well, you're concentrating on another spell already, aren't you? Technically. I'm not sure if you
no.
can ritual cast and have concentration.
Because silence is concentration, but it takes your concentration to create a silence.
That's right.
I get. Yeah, okay, never mind. I'm not doing a silence right now.
No.
Yeah, I'll just attack it then.
Okay.
I'm just
Go
gonna
ahead.
do.
I think that's correct. If you could look that up quickly, James. I'm sure when you're casting a ritual, you're concentrating, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay.
I will
I'm
have a
good at
look for you.
Cheers. That finishes us off. How do you want to do this with a tentacle slap? It's just
I guess is its head connected?
yeah, it's on the ground at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's because you said it had hovering things. I
Yeah.
guess the first one just wraps around its head, and then as I pull back, the tentacle gets caught on its head, and its head just comes off.
Nice.
And I'm like just holding it, like ready to do my second attack. Like, all right then.
And the head probably, as it comes back, like whiplashes back, it probably collides into the hand, which shatters into fingers, and the sword cracks onto the ground and comes down with a loud nothingness.
Yeah.
A loud silence.
Yeah.
And that's this cleared out.
In answer to your question, Chris, when you cast a spell with a casting time longer than a single action or reaction, including spellcaster's ritual, you must spend your action each turn casting the spell, and you must maintain your concentration while you do so.
Okay. So going forward, then we'll make sure we're doing that.
Yeah.
Which means
technically this silence shouldn't have been here.
Right, exactly. But we'll just retcon it and say that Elias, you were just about to start casting when you saw this thing heading your way. It did take a minute for Zybits to extract the crystal anyway, so during that minute, it would have got curious enough to sort of hover
Yeah.
over here. But yeah,
That's good to know. I probably walked behind this statue, determined whether I could actually do the spell, and then
Yeah.
was like, oh, well, it's coming towards us.
okay.
Yep. Right,
Oh,
let's
that's all right, we got that done. However, the next chamber looks very empty aside from that crystal, and there is a small ruined tower, but it's so crumbled to pieces, it's difficult to make out what it would have again been used for. Maybe a watchtower at one point. You are supposedly on the outskirts of the nest, but
Now I will do the 10 minutes of casting silence.
Karius is
removing
just
this
going to
one.
move up and just have a little look around, make sure there's no other dangers.
Yeah, because I'm about to pop it on top of this one, the silence bubble.
understood.
So this is the crumbled tower you're on about, right?
Well, that's correct, yeah. And as you kind of get closer and begin to sort of pick through the rubble, you can see there's definitely damages. What kind, though? It doesn't look like something large attacked it. It looks like something maybe shook the earth and part of that structure just sort of crumbled away.
Okay.
And as you kind of look around for more tunnels or caverns, there doesn't seem to be any branching from this particular chamber.
Okay.
It is a dead end.
Whilst we're waiting for Elias to ritual cast silence, I'm gonna start ritual casting detect magic just to see if I can see any remnants of magic within the rubble. Perhaps like something hidden there.
Yeah,
Anybody else want
okay.
Ritual do anything? Get all the rituals going.
Yeah, a couple of rituals, anyone? Anyone want to join the ritual club?
No,
Sounds like
but I
a-
will spend a couple of minutes sketching out this tower because it's.
And
Okay.
we're collecting more of the weird crystal things out of this guy's body as well.
Yep.
Of course.
Alrighty. Yeah, their fragments are again dull, and the glow is sort of fading from them, oddly.
Like fading in front of us, or they've been fading
Yeah,
for a while.
fading in front of you. They kind of flicker, thrum for a moment, like a heartbeat giving out, and then goes dull and dim.
Well, hopefully when we put it all together, it will light up again.
That's kind of sad.
It
It
is.
is. And you have no idea what sound that would be making because it is inside a silence. But that's probably for the best, just in case it alerts anyone.
Yeah.
As you're looking through the rubble, Karius, you do see bits and pieces that are glowing. You can roll me a D41.
D41.
Oh no.
Yep. 36. So the remains of this tower has one particular piece of rock that's glowing just underneath the surface, and as you pull one piece away, another piece away, let's just read this. Yeah, okay. So it looks like it may have been part of something. You're not particularly sure. I'll tell you the magic though, because it has got. Let's see what it is. It's abjuration magic coming from this piece of rock, and how best to describe it? It's a different texture and color to the rest, whereas all the others kind of look like a dark gray kind of rubble. This it actually has the same sort of kind of pinkish, pale pinkish, peachy kind of tone to skin. But it's definitely not made of skin. It's clearly a rock.
I will take it and look over to Eirina and go, You worked in a magic library, know much about rocks?
Depends on the rock. Take a look.
Yeah.
As you're handling it and going towards Eirina, you can make me a Constitution saving throw.
Of course I can. Is this a poison effect?
No.
Okay. Just thought I'd check. 22.
Fantastic. You feel that gravity suddenly enhances around you for a moment, but you've got enough strength and bodily, I guess, resilience that it doesn't really affect you in any way. It just feels like a heavy rock. Like it feels a lot heavier than what you thought it would be. Probably because you're picking through bits beforehand, and then when you finally come to this, it's like picking up a piece of tungsten. It's like, oh, it's like really weighty. You're gonna have to like hold it like this, just to support it.
It's a very
Like it feels like you're holding like a bowling ball in the size of a palm.
It's a very heavy, fleshy coloured rock.
Mm-hmm.
Did it
Maybe
almost
you
seem
hold on
like?
to it.
Did it seem like almost as I was carrying it, it got heavier, or was it always that heavy?
It felt like as you perhaps picked it up, yeah, that's you like picked it up from the ground, and then as you began to walk over to Eirina, that's when whoosh, you felt the sudden, yeah. And the way it's kind of structured is you're giving a good look over at Eirina. You can either give me investigation or arcana, depending on what you want to learn. It's magical nature or what it was made of.
If Karius mentions the weird sudden weight of it, I'm probably gonna go Arcana.
Yep, sure. Go ahead.
I'm
And
not as great in Arcana, but we'll have a look.
are you actually putting it into Irina's hands?
No, I told him to hold on.
No, I'll just hold
Okay.
on to it whilst they're
All right.
looking over it.
13. What is going on? Your
My
DC.
Arcana's not as good as my
Okay.
investigation, so
I'm afraid
Kitty.
that is actually one below what you need. That's a fail. You have no idea really without doing some more extensive tests on this rock. Just at a glance, it could be anything. It could just be a very heavy rock. It may be just a rock that can increase its weight on.
It has
on wheel.
abjuration magic, if that helps.
abjuration.
It doesn't help you identify it any closer. For now, all you can guess is that it has the ability to change its weight. That's your guess?
Yeah.
Um,
Speaker, you're from around here. You got any ideas?
I'll give him a cautionary thing. He looks over to it, and as he's in the midst of casting a spell to levitate the crystal, he just turns and goes, "Oh, you have found a stone skin rock. It was once part of a druidic totem, most likely. A training ground of sorts."
Huh.
You are familiar with the stone skin spell, I assume?
I'm aware of it. It's that one that, out of character, it's the one that is it the one that makes your AC can't go below a certain value no matter what armor you're wearing?
That's right. Yeah.
I can't remember what that value is. I think it might be 16.
16. It is, yeah.
God, that's good memory.
I believe the Chrismals once had a training arena. This was likely it. The tower you see is perhaps where the judge would sit from. In any case, the structure it's part of has long since been destroyed, but perhaps you can get some mileage out of the small stone.
Is it something that Zybits might be able to use as a Chrismal?
I'm afraid not. They are already made of much crystal. And their AC is already 17. Crystal is harder than stone, as you must imagine.
Do any of us have an AC close?
Andy does.
Yes, Andy.
But it's probably an attunement item, I guess, to give you stone skin.
It's a little bit awkward. Yeah, they have to roll con save, and they have to be strong enough
Oh.
to
Yeah,
actually.
Karius
Okay. Pocket it
sort
for
of
now.
looks. Can I just pull it in the bag of holding to?
Yeah. Yeah, if you could put it on the bag, call it Stone Skin Rock.
What strength do you need for that?
15.
Ooh. I was about to say maybe a certain wizard would like it, but no.
What is it with these items that only I can use, and I don't need them in this case?
It's for like sparring.
Yeah.
People. Anyways, Jamie.
Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna cast the silence, but after that, how big is the head of this thing?
Head of the construct.
Yeah.
It's about your head size. It's typical small head, large body kind of construct.
Is it heavy?
It's weighty, yeah, 100%. It's like it feels like you're lifting up a large boulder. You know what I mean? If you imagine a head made of rock, it's gonna weigh like probably heavier than a bowling ball.
Just wondering, like what would happen? Because these are like rock crystal beings. They
Mhm.
have some sort of potential. If I put Dr. Roctopus on top of its head, I wonder what would happen.
As you put the rock on the head of this creature, you just see a very faint flicker of light from the crystal before it dies out again.
Did it look like it was just dying out, or did it look like Dr. Roctopus absorbed it?
It looked like it was dying out.
No. Ah,
I'm
well.
afraid.
It was worth a try. I thought maybe I could, power up my pet rock.
You're onto something, but clearly the pet rock doesn't have the same properties as these crystals, which clearly like power them.
What if I put it on top of the body?
I'm afraid similar scenario. It doesn't seem to animate it. I'm
Just,
afraid.
I want him to be a real boy.
It's just a rock. It's all in your head, Elias.
Is
It's
it
just
though?
a rock.
I cast a message to it again. It's been a while. Last time I heard little grumblings that I couldn't understand.
That was probably just static.
You said, I don't know.
Yeah.
You said it was rock grumblings that I couldn't understand.
I have no idea. Perhaps, yeah, a message. They need to share a language with you, and so that means probably doesn't have a language at all, or maybe it needs to at least speak. In any case, I'm afraid Little Rocktopus doesn't have any means to animate giant robots at the moment. All right, you got another crystal though, and the speaker begins to ring loud enough to animate it and lift it up. Should you allow him to? Because the silent spell's still there, I guess. I'm going to say you move silence. Okay. We have collected three crystals now. We are doing well.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually say that there's actually a language barrier. It just says to a creature within range.
Okay.
That's interesting.
But from Eirina, you saw more of them earlier, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we have an idea of how to get around them now, so
Yeah.
I'm not as worried as I was at the start.
And to be honest, I mean, whilst they hit hard, especially the big ones, they also seem fairly fragile.
At least to me.
They might not all be the same, though. You
Hmm.
know, they may vary in strength depending on the rock they're built out of. I
Yeah,
don't know.
we've faced two
Better-
different variants so far.
Yeah, it's better to not underestimate
Oh,
them, just
yeah.
to be safe.
I'm just thinking at least we know we can bring them down, at least so far. I was worried they might be made of the same stuff as this, and he taps his shield. That would be a lot harder to bring down.
That'd be very worrying if that was the case.
I have collected this crystal. Shall we
But-
move on?
Yeah.
The time of tremors is still upon us.
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
do that.
these are
But,
like earth elementals, but they've got like differences to them, like they're constructs. But
Not elementals.
they
Although-
seem visually like maybe made from
Right.
elemental remnants, perhaps, or something, or chrismal remnants. They're constructs, but at this point, I'm just curious who made them. I mean, I know they were made to hunt the chrismals and stuff, but
It is most peculiar. Their nature is unknown. The Tao never truly replicated them in their current society. They only ever made them down here.
You did make a mention before when you were talking about the whole prophecy thing about undead.
I did.
Or something about along those lines.
like the dead
Like-
will rise or something.
Something like that. But I'm thinking back to when we were on the airship and I tried possessing the little robot with Candlewick. And I'm wondering if that's what's happening with these things. They were elementals, but whatever is down here potentially is resurrecting them using the crystals, because you said it's like a heartbeat as it was dying.
I did mention that.
There is a. They've piqued my curiosity, even if I know we've got to bring them down, but I'm still curious, and what worries me is if these have been around for a while, a long time from what we understand. Like, the magic that sustains them must be pretty powerful, or it's being regularly topped up in some way. So I'm worried that whoever made these in the first place might be standing in our way at the end.
I think this is probably the point where I'm going to show Karius my sketch of that thing I saw in my dream, because it kind of looks almost like some sort of like factory powered generator thing, like with the crystal things
Yeah,
at the top.
crystal rods.
and-
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you showed them this very bizarre looking sketch. It's a massive stone dome that is immeasurably large. This cavern, you can see Eirina's actually drawn little clouds in it because it's that big. And the crystal rods span from all the way from the edges of the walls and ceiling all the way to this dome in the center. And it's insanely big. It like puts the Millennial Dome to shame. That's probably what it looks like to you. Millennial Dome. Remember that?
That's what I pictured when you described it, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
That's practically it, yeah. And yeah. That's
I
the
don't know
sound we
if
heard.
I don't know if this is real or if it's existent, like if it exists down here or in the other place.
I mean,
It felt very real.
yes. Well, do you explain that this was part of your dream?
Who was it that who's the one who knows that Eirina was dead, like while she was sleeping? Was it Elias or was it Karius? Oh no, it was Llewellyn.
Was it?
I don't know. Someone woke her up and was like, "Oh my god, you were dead."
It was
When she was
Llewellyn,
asleep
wasn't
under the boat, under the little rowboat she's been sleeping in before the mansion was finished. I think it was Llewellyn.
it would have made sense if it was Llewellyn, because he probably would have done his rounds to say, by the way, the hut's up if anyone wants to be
Yeah.
antisocial.
Yeah.
Mansion.
Yeah.
Um,
Karius is just like, I mean, dreams are strange things, but based on what you've said, at least, it could be prophetic in a way, or almost like a scrying whilst you're dreaming. Perhaps Candlewick or some other entity showing you. Yeah, I've heard of things
The
in
last-
stories, but
The last time it happened was a while back, and I don't know if you remember me telling you about that place where, like, with all the. It was like when we were in the shadow. Was it the Shadowfell we were in before
yeah.
with all the creepy things?
the desert.
It was yeah, when we were in the desert. But I had a dream similar to that, and Llewellyn seemed to think I was dead while I was asleep. But obviously, people don't. I don't know if people watch me sleep. I'd be a bit worried if they did. But there's something really strange about the dreams that I keep having when I sleep.
As you're recalling this dream, when suddenly you hear thumping, like running from these constructs, and sure enough, at the end of the tunnel, you're all suddenly being dragged back by Elias, who's clearly spotted this during the. You see another squadron, two troops and a soldier, begin to march up to this point in the crossroads, and they don't even look in your direction. They all simultaneously turn left and begin sprinting off in a direction, and they run south. Is the last place you see them, Eirina? You're the last person, yeah, because you got your dark vision. You see them run down the south tunnel.
Did they just run away from us?
It seemed that way,
Mm.
didn't it?
Karius looks to Taklo, and it's like, Taklo, do you hear anything?
Oh, that's probably the goblins.
I hear lots of running.
I think
It could be the goblins distracting them, certainly.
Yeah.
Or that worm's on its way, and we better mosey out of here.
Well,
We should go around the corner
Taklo,
to the other one.
can you hear the grinding
spotted.
sound?
Not very well.
Okay.
Okay.
Not whilst all these footsteps are going on.
You know, if I make a song about this part of our journey, I think I'll probably call it Silence is Violence.
I was thinking silent but deadly, but that title kind of stinks.
Eirina, Elias, Karius, you spot, or at least Elias, sorry, no, just Eirina does by the looks. Eirina spots another set of these two troops, one soldier, marching in as fast as they can, and they again head down through the south tunnel.
Okay, so let's take the very outer wall and carry on.
Yeah, because we know one set of them came from
Down
the
from
sort
up
of
here.
up direction up this way. Like, there's a crystal up there. Like, do you want me to take point because I can see the furthest? Or...
Yeah, makes sense.
Best. Speaker at the
But
back.
take Taklo with you, because just in case he hears anything that you can't see. Because, you know.
Stay within 30 feet of us, so if something does come and attack, we can get to her.
I'm trying to be stealthy. I'm going behind all the stalactites.
Yeah, we're doing the same.
Okay.
Like,
Taklo, no doubt, doing theme music.
Yeah.
He's doing the crunk.
should we do the silence now, just in case? Do the silence on the crystal again?
And it
we
takes
don't need
time,
to
and
noise
if they're activating the distraction,
Yeah, but if the speaker or Zybit starts drilling it out or whatever it does, it makes noise. and probably a
This
hell of a
one-
lot.
Yeah, this one isn't as embedded by the looks. It's kind of mounted up on a piece of earth. It looks like it could be quite easily excavated, but this one's huge. The speaker's going to need to definitely get all the ringing he can.
Exactly. He has to use his ringing to make it hover as well,
Of course.
according to Kesh'an and his weird, freaky super hearing.
So you come into another cross section, tunnel to the right of you past this statue, and where Eirina can see another glow. And there seems to be a tunnel down to the left. It seems quite dark and yeah, it's pitch black down there. And there's finally a tunnel directly ahead of you as well. It's all the way this way. And you can see right at the very far back, there's a light source blinking in the distance. And what do you
Distracted
guys
by
do?
the statue. What is it? Is it a person?
It looks humanoid in nature, yeah. But as you kind of get closer, you can see this is much more of Dao kind of origin and design. The lower half of the creature hasn't got feet or legs. It's actually just sort of this draping, wisping sand that's. It's not actually sand, but it's clearly designed to look like it. The whole statue is covered in dust and dirt from debris and rubble, and you can see chunks of it around the statue where maybe cave-ins or stalactites have fallen from the ceiling. But
Now, how real does it look?
how real? Well, it's
We've
got its own.
encountered Medusas already. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, we already know this. If it's on a pedestal, it's just a statue.
No,
Okay.
because if it's on a pedestal, it could be near a corrupted crystal and alive.
Yes.
Also, it could be part of someone's art gallery.
That's true. Okay, yeah, you can't rule anything out. That's true.
Right.
There are parts of it that have chipped and broken away, and it
Oh, no.
doesn't look like it has insides.
Tentacle snippet.
But yeah, this one's kind of smallish, and it's lost both of its arms by the looks, where things have fallen down and knocked him off.
So it's harmless.
He's armless, mate. He's armless.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
I'm casting the silence on the thing.
Okay, sure.
Like, do my thing, because he's gonna drill it out and then do his weird make it fly up and whatnot.
Taking 10
Sorry,
minutes.
do
to
his
do
weird what?
You know, where it makes it fly up.
Okay, I'll move you guys up. There we go. All right. Yeah, here we go. And about this point, you can see the tunnel south as well. All right. So yes, it's as you're casting silence, however, that
Goes over.
oh, you're by the statue. I need everyone to make a perception check, including Tacklo. Tacklo does not
Well,
have advantage this time
I'm-
round.
Good job we have Andi here.
Andy's at disadvantage because she's blind.
22 from Eirina though. Wow.
Okay, thank God. Eirina, although you may have been distracted by the statue for a little moment, it's just then when you see something rather ominous floating down past the crystal. You only catch light of it, and then you lose sight of it because of the way light works. It basically passes past the crystal where you had vision, and then it enters into the darkened hallway. And not only that, it is flanked by 4 troops that are basically some sort of escort. And the reason why everyone else is potentially missing it, especially for Takmo, because it is not walking but rather floating. It is seemingly hovering with 4 legs that are kind of tucked up on itself like a spider, and it is pushing forward by some unknown force. It's about 20 feet in the air. I'm going to adjust now. and hovering this direction. What do you guys do?
Where is it? Which crystal? There's like I can see more than one.
It's over
So-
near this one.
This is the crystal you saw it go past, Eirina. See it?
God.
And it is incredibly large, way bigger than the other one. It's like a fortress flying towards you.
Okay.
You just have enough time to alert the others.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then yeah.
What do you do?
I
Everyone knows it's coming.
Yeah.
Running.
Gonna move up here. I mean, with
everybody kind of tuck. And I will cast darkness. Like if we all huddle together in a hall corridor,
Yeah.
I will cast darkness to
Okay,
conceal
cool.
everybody.
do you want to?
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
Because
And-
I can see through it still, so I'll know when they've passed.
And then ultimate darkness. Now there's no noise as well.
You're gonna cast silence as
I'm
well.
casting silence as well because they respond to sound. So
That looks
All right,
like a-
doubling down with darkness and silence. This immense creature begins to hover past, and you know what? Let's get some artwork down because you've practically seen. Well, you've seen most of the forms now.
That makes me think it looks like a Gundam almost.
Transformers,
It
boulders
is a
in
tad on the-
disguise.
That's so cool.
It absolutely is a tad on the sci-fi side, but here you go. Have the artwork of the other ones as well.
It looks like a bionicle.
Yeah, right. Did that
Oh,
say in the chat? Not very well.
No, I can't see it. Why?
Oh, try this. There we go.
Oh.
Goodness.
my God.
There we go. These are the kind of creatures we're dealing with down here. And the soldiers on the far left, the troop, you can see in the sort of middle.
So there's one type we haven't seen then.
There's two tucks you haven't seen. There's the one in the middle and the one on the far right.
Yeah.
But you're about to see the one in the middle very shortly. But that one in the middle is of the same sort of size and scale as the one that is literally floating by as you huddle down in your darkness. And as it's going, you see rocks and pebbles lift up around it, sort of hovering and floating. And as it kind of goes over some more difficult terrain where these cacti and debris are, you see him lift up the other 4 soldiers around him, and they sort of just push forward like sort of like superhero stance. And they hover quite swiftly past, not even batting an eyelid to the darkened tunnel behind them. And it seems like you have completely averted them. In the distance, after about a minute waiting just to make sure it's gone fully past, you hear this loud sonic boom, boom sound going off.
I'm guessing that's if one of us has their ear out of the silence.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see through the darkness, so once they passed, I imagine I'll stick my head out. Enough that I could probably have been.
I will.
Sounds like the goblins are absolutely kicking up a storm.
I just sort of looked at Kesh'an and I'm just like, I really hope those goblins are as well trained as you are, at least.
Oh, I really hope so too.
Particularly Yuck
glad.
Mug, I kind of got used to him.
I'm glad I gave them some form of healing, even if it was just good berries.
Yeah. Well,
If they weren't in full retreat now, they probably are. The speaker says actually, like, after seeing that thing, I would hope that they retreat. They are being met with quite an opposing force.
but they do have weapons specifically designed to take down these sort of things, so there's that.
This is true.
But
they are sending waves after waves.
I think for now, as much as silence is golden, I think time is of the essence. We need to use this. We don't have time to.
Yeah.
Agree.
If they're all over there now, hopefully that's the last of them.
Hope
But
so.
if we've got silence and darkness at the entrance,
That should at least block some stuff.
yeah, because if this is an enclosed chamber, then nothing should make it past the silence and the darkness.
Unless it comes through
Hopefully.
the walls.
That's true.
Yeah,
So
if anything, you probably didn't actually hear those supersonic blasts. If anyone was poking their head out of the silence, they would hear that ongoing battle in the distance.
Yeah,
But as you're
Eirina
in
did.
this cave, you're absolutely right. The sound doesn't really pass through the tunnel, but there are the kind of dull, deep, muffled. Boof, boof, boof.
Through the walls.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Right,
have a speaker because
yeah.
it looks like there's a crystal here.
Okay. We're gonna end
Also,
on this crystal, I
a
think.
giant sword.
There
Yeah.
is a giant sword, it's true. Weirdly stuffed into this rock. It's literally a sword and a stone.
If
But
if
we will
I,
come.
Karius is like, if I pull this out of the rock, do I become king of the earth plane? Because I'll do it.
I'm not sure that's how it works. King of this ruin, perhaps, but of little else, perhaps. Right. We have gathered a fourth crystal. We are already halfway there. If this is... Let me check. Yes, this is another one. And he begins wringing it and levitating it out of this little tiny crater here. And just as he's lifting it out, there's a slight scurrying sound. One scurry sound coming from behind him, and another one from the far left, and then the far right. And he says, it may keep sound out, but it may
Keeps.
alert whatever's something already in here.
Hmm.
We're gonna end tonight's session on that little exciting tidbit. So yes, we'll return next week because I just realized it's getting on. But you're making good headway, and so far, impressive use of silence to actually completely avoid big confrontational battles. And yeah,
Flatworms, in it.
hopefully you get all the way in without even alerting the alarms.
This was
But
supposed to be a stealth mission.
it was,
Yep.
yes.
And we've been doing pretty well considering two of us are at disadvantage, but one of us, it doesn't matter.
It's like when you're doing a stealth mission and you just have to, grab a few enemies and break their necks, and then hide them in a box, Hitman style.
But we are only on the outskirts of the city. We must find the inner nest if we are to find the crystal. But if I find all 8 before then I will return to the 5th layer, and it'll be up to you. But that's where we'll end tonight's session. Thanks very much for watching.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing. And tune in on Sunday for the return of the Carnival cards. We are resuming back in Fable Rise. Hopefully getting back their memories. And tune in not this Monday, but the Monday after. Continue what lies beneath.
Yep. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye bye.